charge, ready for the fight. No more hearts and steadfast pride. Detroit spirit, we wear it white. Feel the drive, hear the crowds embrace. Rock on, Detroit Lions will rise. With a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. In the city, where the roar meets the night, the Lions charge, ready for the fight. Noble hearts and steadfast pride. Detroit spirit, we wear it white. Feel the drive, hear the crowds embrace.
Throwing middle, caught inside the 5. Jameer Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 14 yards on the strike. Goff to Gibbs. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
Nice job.
I could have sworn I just fixed that.
Jared takes the snap back, looking, throwing middle. Got Amon-Ra inside the 2, to the 1, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Amon-Ra, St. Brown.
Nice job.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
Rise and Grind Morning Show is the best podcast in the world. Amik Robertson.
And he ain't lying, man. Amik Robertson, topic of conversation today, has a banged up hand. How is that going to affect the Lions moving forward for the next few games? We'll talk about it today. Yes, I'll fix my darkness here in just a moment. Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. We have a lot to talk about today. And some of it's good, some of it not so good. Lions made a potentially huge mistake yesterday when trying to bring a player back to the practice squad. Eric Hallett is no longer with the team, and I'm calling BS on this. Like, you'll hear my take here in a few moments, but absolute BS by what the Titans did for no reason. But we'll discuss it here in a little bit. Anyway, on the docket this morning, we're going to be getting into Lions news and rumors like we do every day. It's Wednesday, so we'll be throwing on Wild West Wednesdays today, just kind of getting through it and turning over the leaf tomorrow, getting into the game and breaking it down Thursday and Friday. But this morning, we'll give you a quick rundown what's on the list. We got Amik Robertson injury update, secondary depth crisis. Jared Goff is absolutely pissed off right now, not just with the way that the season's going, but at the fan base, and rightfully so. Blaming Jared Goff for the loss. I can't believe half the stuff that I read on social media, but then again, I feel like it's just all rage baiting, and I had an epiphany this morning at 5 a.m. You're probably going to laugh at me when I tell you what it was, but it just finally clicked. The Goff hate in the rankings, Look, I'm not surprised, but keep putting that chip on his shoulder. He's going to keep dialing it up. St. Brown decided to have a little pizza challenge. And what's up with Snoop Dogg? And is Casey Rogers doing enough? All that more when we get back with Eric Rintamaki.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
All right, what's happening, man? Good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
It's going. It's going, man. It's Wednesday. Drop some stuff. Had a eventful night last night, reorganizing all these lights and trying to hang a camera cage and And
Fun,
then
fun.
finally figured out that the damn camera cage that I ordered is just not, it's not working the way I want it to work.
Yep.
You know, but you waste all that time. So I didn't get any videos out yesterday. I got all my scripts written though, and did the article. So how many of you read the article yesterday? I mean, I went through it during the show. I did update it, by the way. I changed a few things last night. I mean, that was a very long article that I put a lot of time and effort in to try to make sense, hopefully for the fans, a little bit of, or I guess give you a little bit better of a snapshot, kind of a look in at what I believe is going on with Brad Holmes, the Detroit Lions, who we are, why we do what we do, why Brad does what he does, and why we are where we are as far as winning and losing and having success in the NFL. But I did change a few things around. There was a couple of things that didn't make a lot of sense when I went back and reread it for, I don't know, the third or fourth, fifth time yesterday. But let me know. Share with a friend. Do me a favor. Make sure you guys share it because today there will be film review dropping. I know it's on Aiden. You're going to hate me for it. Everyone calls me an Aiden hater, but how about we do this? How about you just call me, I don't know, the truth serum or something, because that's what it's all about. It's just about truth. It's really just having transparency. That's all it is. I get it that some people hate transparency and hate the truth and or can't accept the truth. I mean, maybe I need to bring in that soundbite. What movie was that? Back in the day with
You Can't Handle the Truth.
Yeah, what movie was that?
It was the one about
the Firm.
military.
It was The Firm, wasn't it? With
No, it was the military justice one.
yeah, The Firm. Could have sworn it was The Firm. You know what I mean?
Somebody will know it in the chat.
So Nick P, my truth is factual, buddy. Like I here's what I know about. I mean, I get it. Like Nick P, you constantly want to go against the grain here, and that's perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I show you film and I give you the stats that I didn't produce, how would it be that my truth is just an opinion when those are facts? There's a difference. And exactly what that article did yesterday is give you facts, right? Facts like this. I'm going to waste 60 seconds of my life on this morning. Otherwise, I'm not going to pay any attention to anything anymore. That
It was A Few Good Men. I knew.
A Few Good Men. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so here's a fact. Okay, not my truth, but here's a fact. The snap to sack and pressure ratio and double, triple, and chip rates. Here is a fact number one. Aiden Hutchinson had 849 snaps, according to PFF, ESPN, and others. Fact number one. Fact number two. He has 9.5 sacks on the season. I don't know why PFF says he has 11. But according to ESPN, he has 9.5. I say he has 9 because that sack was split with Anzo. Fact number 3. Aiden has a 1.1% snap to sack ratio. Now, I didn't go in, which now I'm going to edit this today. I'm going to go and add in Myles Garrett and the other top 5 or 6 or 7 edge rushers in the league, and we'll see what their snap to sack ratio is. He has a 10% pressure to snap ratio. That means for every snap, he has a 10% chance of creating pressure. Now, this is based on all of the snaps. This isn't based on just pass rush snaps. So when I can make changes, right, and I can do just pass rush, but I did all snaps. Double team rate. Again, according to somebody else's facts and eyes, 42 Fox Sports, 42.09% of the time Aiden Hutchinson is doubled. 6.68% of the time he is tripled, and 22.72% of the time he is chipped. I didn't create those stats. Someone else did. I'm just sharing the information. Here's fact number, I don't know what we're on. Al-Qadi Muhammad, 393 snaps. That is less than half of Aiden's. The difference is he has 2.3% snap to sack ratio, which is more than double the efficiency of Aiden Hutchinson. He has an 11.7% pressure to snap ratio, which is 1.7% better. And he is double teamed more than Aiden Hutchinson at 43.53%. He is triple teamed 1% less than Aiden, and he is chipped about 15. Where are we at? About 12% less than Aiden. Those are facts. Okay, so when we talk about efficiency, Muhammad is twice as efficient as Aiden. That's a fact. The other facts in this article point out stats for the Lions defense, right? How has the Lions defense improved since 2021? The way that Brad took it over, the way that he built the roster, a year-over-year defensive snapshot. Fact number one was reported that the Lions defense rank in 2021 was 29th. In 22 was 32nd. In 23 was 19th. In 24 was 20th. And currently, right now, we are 15th.
No, we're 21st now.
And that was probably updated since yesterday. But these are the facts from yesterday. 15th. 15th. And so where did you see that?
On Fox Sports right now, it just updated. We are now 21st after that horrible outing to the Rams. We're giving up 337.9 points per game. We've given up 40 touchdowns. There are only 9 other teams, all bottom feeders, except for the one team ahead of us that has given up 40 or more touchdowns.
Yes.
And the one team above us is the Jets at 44.
So that was updated this morning. Fox Sports was updated at 3:14 a.m. So this came out yesterday. I can update this to make sure that it is well, actually, no, I just add a sentence here that says as of 12/16. But either way, the Lions have improved year over year over year. Now, we're not to the end of the season yet, so we don't know where we're going to end up finishing. But just 8 games ago, we were a top 5 defense. But giving up 33 points per game, you fall apart. Giving up more rushing yards every week, you kind of fall apart. Who's to blame for all that? Someone's to blame. Multiple people are to blame. It's scheme, it's players. Now, passing defense. Again, you can go through this article. I'll put it in the chat. But these are facts, buddy. And the only thing that is not a fact, right, or is heavily researched and very, very accurate is my takes on what Brad Holmes has done and how he has built this roster. It's based in philosophy of the NFL, football philosophy, which you may or may not know. I don't know if you know it. But football philosophy is pretty consistent. The other facts that are in here are how many drafted players were on every Super Bowl winning team since 2004 and 2024, and why the Lions are doing exactly the same thing. Building through the pipeline of the draft, developing, re-signing, and building for depth. So a lot of facts in here, some opinions in here, but at the end of the day, I don't have a reason to lie or make things up or stretch the truth or any. What's the point? I mean, this stuff lives on the internet forever. Why would I do that to myself? But if you can't handle the truth, you can't handle the truth.
I can tell you this, Will. I'm going to disagree with you on one thing, and I'm going to agree with you on another. I'm going to give Aiden his flowers. He had a good game last game. Okay? That's it. Period. Over. And then on the next thing, Brad Holmes, you don't win GM of the year 2 years in a row, the last 2 years in a row, if you're a crappy GM. All right? So Brad Holmes is doing an amazing job. He's picked up so many all-pros and pro bowlers. You just don't do that if you're a crappy GM. I don't care what he does in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, and I don't care that some of the free agents haven't worked out because more or less of them have worked out, more than less of them. You know, so as far as I'm concerned, Brad Holmes is the best GM this team has ever seen and will probably ever see. And the sooner that Sheila gives Brad and Dan new contracts, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
1,000% agree on that. I mean, we'll agree to disagree on the first point because I'm not the only one that's saying there's listen, hold on. I'll let you have your 2 cents. Here's my 2 cents. There is plenty of people talking about it. One play in the beginning of the game and then disappearing for the rest of the game. It's not a good game.
Yeah.
Well, it's not.
Listen.
Well, hold on. Let me get into his pressures. We didn't go into his pressures yet.
That Aiden needs to play better. He does.
Oh, he does. 1,000%.
I'm not saying at all. He disappears for way too many games and too often in the game, and they overutilize him. But you know what they did this game? He only played 79% of the snaps, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. So that is a step in the right direction. He's not out there for every single goddamn play, and I think that is part of the problem. You know, his first and second year, they were putting him out there for every play, and it was working. Well, I think teams have kind of figured him out a little bit since his injury, that he can't be out there every single damn play. Just use him like anyone else would, and like you would use anyone else. You don't put Al-Qadim Muhammad out there for every single play, you know?
No, but his efficiency is sky high. Like Al-Qadim Muhammad, it's the same thing that we had with James Houston, which is it's hilarious to me. James Houston was one of the most efficient defensive ends in the league. When he in his first year, he had like 5 sacks and like 12 snaps. It was something stupid crazy.
16 snaps and 8 sacks. It was 1 sack for every 2 plays.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was nuts. And then we get rid of him, and then now he's producing, with the Cowboys.
For the Cowboys. Against Penei Sewell.
It's insane.
The only sack that Penei Sewell was given up this year was to James Houston.
PFF.com. We didn't get a chance to go through the stats because they weren't updated yesterday. When I was on. I didn't have time to really go through it anyway. But if we look at the game stats, which we didn't have a chance to do in Week 15, let's review some of the final grades. Now, I don't care about the grades with PFF. Look, I think they're garbage. But his run defense, Aiden Hutchinson, was a 45.3. It was, I think, the 3rd lowest on the team. Actually, it was the 2nd lowest on the team, right behind Marcus Davenport. His missed tackle rate was 25%. I'm sorry, Marcus Davenport was 0%. Aiden Hutchinson was 0% on missed tackle rate. Aiden had 5 pressures on the day. Marcus Davenport had 2. Roy Lopez had 2. Jack Campbell and Eric Hallett each had 1. 17 pressures on the day total. Al-Qadim Muhammad had 5 pressures on the day. Here's the difference for me. The snap rate, the snap load. How many snaps did each of them have? Aiden Hutchinson had 57. Al-Qadim Muhammad, 33. So again, if you look at efficiency and you take 5 pressures and you divide it by 57 snaps, that is a pressure on less than 1%. I'm sorry, that is a pressure on 8.8% of plays, which is lower than his season-long average. And then if you do Al-Qadim Muhammad, 5 pressures at 33 snaps, that is a pressure on 15.2% of plays, which is higher than his season average. You have to take everything into consideration, right? But I will say the efficiency has dropped, and that needs to come back. It's not just an indictment on Aiden. It's the defensive scheme, and that is why today we will talk about Casey Rogers. I don't think he's doing enough, and I want to revisit his video from last week. What did he say going into the game? And then what happened during the game? Did everything that he say he was going to do or try to do, did it line up or did it not? I don't think it did. But again, you guys can be the judge. We'll bring the video in here in a little bit. Eric, what do you want to start with today? Which avenue do you want to get into first? and keep going with the grades this morning. Some of the stats from the game, so we can move past it and bury it and be done with it.
Well, the biggest thing, the biggest monkey here of the entire day is the Jared Goff thing. And, to hear what's happening, it not only pisses off Jared Goff, it pisses me off. The one guy who is having an absolute stellar season. Now, he doesn't run around like Josh Allen. If Jared Goff ran around like Josh Allen, everybody would be screaming MVP, whether we were on, even if we had 5 wins, they wouldn't care. I almost think people would care less that we've lost games if we had a quarterback that ran around. That's exactly what it seems like to me, because people don't look at his stats overall at all. They just completely ignore what he has done. Like these last 4 games, he's been brilliant.
Yeah. And you lose games sometimes, even when you play your best games.
Exactly.
It happens.
And listen, if we end, let's say that I'm going to go down a bad road here for a second. Let's say we lose on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to make the playoffs.
Right.
We could be the first.
Well,
team,
we still could, but it would be highly unlikely.
Like 1%. We'd be in the Cowboys' shoes. Happen to hope that somebody loses, but we could be the first team to ever lead the league in scoring and not make the playoffs. That's how how epic of a slide our defense has taken since the bye week. We went from a top 5 defense to 21st over a 4-game span. It's or a 6-game span. Horrible slide.
Okay,
yeah,
so if we're gonna go down the road of Jared Goff this morning, I'm gonna have to bring in his audio.
Yeah, I have not listened to this audio yet. I have only heard what he said.
You read what he said.
Yeah, I've only read what he said, and so I had a couple of questions today. So maybe we'll start with that before we actually get into it. Okay, because you've heard about it and I've heard about it, right?
Well, I've heard it, I've read it, I've listened to it, and I have to say, man, you can hear. Well, we'll just bring it in. You can hear that Jared Goff is pissed.
But I got a question for you. Does it bother you like it bothers me that Lions fans have pissed off Jared Goff? Or do you like that our QB is now fired up to prove all the haters wrong?
Man, that is loaded. I will say this. Our fan base, not everybody.
No.
But hold on here. Our fan base, not everyone, but a large portion of them have fallen into this trap. You want to talk about listening to information from people or consuming information from people that is your truth, their truth, right? Or what they seem to believe. There is, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 different content creators, a bigger engine in Detroit that has the same name as a road, that all they do is hate breed and hate spew and talk trash about this team, about these players, about their families, about their kids. Why? Why would these players want to continue to play in Detroit? Why would they want to go give their everything for this city that is yet to earn a Lombardi? Why would they want to continue to fight for you? I wouldn't. If you continually just bash me every single day, don't have anything positive to say, celebrate all of the wins, and then the minute something goes wrong, it is, I'm going to forget about the fact that I celebrated last week, and now I'm going to trash everything about you that really you didn't do. Like they come up with all this crap that doesn't make any sense. Oh, like you said, he doesn't run. He's not mobile. Jared Goff is a pocket quarterback. And I'll say this again. Tom Brady ran for 29 yards on average per season, has 7 Super Bowls. Not comparing him to Tom Brady, but I'm telling you that pocket quarterbacks have won over 90% of the Super Bowls. 90%. Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts are like 2 of the only mobile quarterbacks that have won a Super Bowl in like the last 20 years. So the proof is there. The evidence is there. The facts are there. But why would you want to bash your team consistently? Like when I say things about Aiden, it's not bashing the dude. But being critical of a performance with facts is different than just saying you suck. Or you're made of glass. Or whatever it is that people want to say. You're a Dollar General manager, right? Got you off the Kmart Blue Special. Whatever the crap that people say. If I was Jared Goff, I'd be like, you know what? I'm glad I got paid. I'm good. But he's not built that way. It's going to go in one ear and out the other. Jared has done so much for this city and so much for this team. And people want to blame him? Go ask any professional analyst and they're going to tell you, you put up 30 points in a game, you should win that game. If a defense is able to score 33 plus points on you every single game for 4 weeks in a row, the problem is the defense. It is not possible to score every single play. The Lions did it in one game where they scored on every single play and they kneeled down the last one. That's not likely to happen. But the Lions have done it. Right? But that's not likely to happen. That's like me saying, okay, Aiden should get an AQM should get a sack on every snap. Every snap. They should get a TFL on every snap. See how stupid that is? How stupid it sounds? Anyway, let's listen to Jared. Let's see what he had to say.
Up. Did you take NyQuil Intense? What if there was?
I feel like taking some NyQuil.
Okay, I don't got.
Fling inside.
Feel like we're best for you guys offensively in that game.
Board.
There we go. I didn't clip it, so
As always, ecstatic to have the quarterback with us. And Jared, a tough one on Sunday. As you look back at that game against the Rams, what do you feel like worked best for you guys offensively in that game?
Yeah, what worked best for us? I mean, throwing it to 14 and JMO, and those guys were making some hay, and we had some good success getting it to them down the field and in between and everywhere, all over the field. Those guys played really well. I thought our O-line protected really well. Gave me some time back there and found them.
And on the other side of it, what did they do that gave you guys problems?
Those 3 drives to start the second half were really the only problems we had all day, and one of them we had the holding call, put us in the second and longer. And then again, I think I said after the game, when you're in third and long, it becomes hard. But I say that as much to say that, then it's on me and the receivers to convert there. The good teams, they find ways to convert on third and long and stay on the field. And we had our chances there on those drives to stay on the field and continue that drive and continue those drives. And we didn't.
Nobody likes to use injuries as an excuse. I know you guys definitely don't. But how disconcerting is it for you when you don't have Laporta and you don't have Brock Wright? Zylstra came back, but did you even know who Giovanni Ricci was before this week?
Yeah, no, I mean we have guys who are ready to step up, man. We do. We've had this this mentality for a while now. Guys go down, guys step in and do just fine. We've won games with guys like Richie that haven't been here very long, and I thought he did a good job in his stuff that he was asked to do, and we'll move right along.
You mentioned those first 3 drives in the third quarter. The answer to this might be no, but did they do something specifically out of halftime that gave you guys problems early in the third?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know if they changed anything. They may have, but it didn't feel like it. We ran the ball for 5 and then ran the ball for 10 and got the holding call and that kind of set us back. I don't quite remember what happened on the other 2 drives, but I'm sure we were not efficient on first and second down and then didn't get there on third. And that's and they did do a good job of creating some pressure on a couple of those drives, but No, we had the ball downfield to JMO that would have been a miraculous catch if he could have pulled that down, but really hard one. And yeah, it's hard.
Obviously, the running game was not what it was. That was probably the story of the game. They could run the ball. You guys couldn't. And fans would call up about play calling and things like that. On some of those runs where fans always want more passing, how much do you check down into a run if something that is called originally is not there?
Totally depends. Sometimes it's we have a couple plays called and one of them was a pass, one was a run. Sometimes we have a couple plays called, they're both runs. Sometimes we have a couple plays called, they're both passes. So totally depends. It changes every single snap.
So, Stoney just mentioned the run game. What are some of the keys to getting that going moving forward?
Yeah, just make sure everyone's on the same page and creating those gaps and getting those backs confident in where they're going and letting them loose. I think for those guys, David and Ja, it's just get them a little crease, man, and they can do the rest. And I'm sure that was part of their game plan, though, is to be heavy in the box and stop our run, which is why we threw for 340 on them. Like that's the game they were willing to play and scored 34 points doing it, and just wasn't enough.
JMO's been so good of late. As he matures in this league, is he reaching his potential, or do you think there's even more he can give? Like he's just scraping the surface.
Oh, there's a lot more.
Really?
He's just getting there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot more, and he's matured a lot as a player, and is coming to his own now, and is so reliable, so trustworthy. I've talked about it at length, but yeah, man, he's got a lot of meat left on that bone for him.
How much self-scouting do you do when the team you're playing next, being the Pittsburgh Steelers, was on Monday night last night?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. It's hard sometimes from the TV copy, but you get a little bit of intel for sure.
So somebody actually suggested, I was reading a website, that all broadcasts should show a lot of the all-22 view because quarterbacks just get completely criticized. Why are you throwing there? And if the viewing public, if we saw what you see, it would have a completely different shall we say, critique of your position. How would, as a fan, would you agree with that?
I mean, it'd be nice for me to watching the game for sure. I'd like for everyone to be at practice with us all week too and see all that stuff. That may help as well to just see how we have to go through reads and progress through things. But yeah, it's a hard position, and we take all the blame though. It's all good, and get a lot of the praise as well.
Let's talk about where you are in this season, and I'm sure your focus is on Pittsburgh, but where the standings are, only a few games left, kind of have to win them all. We took some calls yesterday from fans who just don't think it's going to happen for you guys this year. What would you say? Right, I know.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
What would you say to try and reinstill faith in the people that are?
I don't need to reinstill faith in anyone. It pisses me off a little bit to hear that, but yeah, we got to win this first one. And Pittsburgh at home, we'll have it in front of our home fans, and yeah, it'll be great. Go out there and get that W, and hopefully prove a lot of our people wrong.
How confident are you in the fact that you guys can get this done?
Win the first one? Absolutely. We can get this one done and go beat Pittsburgh and then go from there.
Talk about fanaticals. We even had some calls suggesting firing the head coach yesterday, which is completely crazy. But I wanted to ask you, as a kid growing up, as a fan of whatever team it was, were you ever irrational like some of these fans? Or maybe now you have a favorite team in a different sport that you just go crazy about like some of these idiots here?
No, I don't think I do that.
What was your team growing up? Your favorite team in whatever sport it would be?
Yeah, I grew up. I was in the Bay Area, so it was the Giants, baseball, Warriors basketball, and then the Niners for football. So yeah, I grew up during those Alex Smith years. Even before him was really like Jeff Garcia was kind of like my guy when I was really young. And yeah, I was a huge fan.
Dan said something interesting on the morning show about, as a play caller, you get into a game like that and you feel like you do have to score every drive because they're so good offensively. Does that put more pressure on you guys offensively, or do you kind of like those games knowing that, hey, we're going to be going up and down the field and you guys get to just air it out a little bit?
Yeah, no, we like it. It really felt, not too dissimilar to Dallas, the game where we knew we had to lead though, and that was a little bit different where we have that lead and we're like, just keep the lead, guys. They can't catch us. It felt similar to that in the Rams game. We were moving the ball so well, but we lost the lead, and then you're playing from behind. It changes the dynamics a little bit. But we did feel like we can move the ball pretty good, and we're moving the ball, scoring some points. But again, it just wasn't enough.
two of Cal's best quarterbacks will be on the field Sunday at Ford Field. What type of relationship do you have with Aaron?
Yeah, we've chatted over the years and ran into each other at various things, and he's always been great to me, and is a guy that I looked up to, when I was really little. He was the Cal quarterback. I was a big Cal fan, and it's fun that we get to compete against each other now.
Do you have a favorite other quarterback in the NFL?
Oh gosh, great question. I don't think so. I like a lot of these guys, though. I don't know if I could give you one.
Who are some of the guys you like?
Who do I like watching? I like watching Josh. I like watching, to be honest, I like watching the guys that do stuff that I can't physically do. Lamar, Patrick to some extent, where he's running around. That stuff's so cool to see on film, where you're like, holy smokes. I mean, Kyler Murray, some of the stuff he'll do and running around, that stuff's pretty cool to me. You
mentioned Patrick. He gets hurt this weekend. Micah Parsons gets hurt this weekend. You guys have had injuries crush your defense last year. It's happening again this year. Is there something that the league can do as a player? Because I've been saying they added a 17th game. They should have added another bye week instead. And I think the quick turnarounds hurt you guys as well. But as a player, is there anything that's leading to all these injuries, or is it just bad luck?
Yeah, I think it's mostly bad luck. I don't think there's anything. Obviously, the turf is a big discussion that goes on every year, and I think that would certainly help a lot of this if they were able to go to grass. I know there's challenges there with that as well, and the owners push back against that. But yeah, it's just bad luck, man. It happens, and feel for Patrick, feel for a lot of these guys who go through some of that stuff, and it's tough.
Speaking of injuries, because of injuries, is there a player on your roster that has really stepped up that you're like, this guy is really proven himself when we need it the most because somebody else got hurt?
Yeah, I think defensively, those safeties are stepping up. Maddox and Hallett, and even before that, Harper and some of those guys over there that have had to step in and play a lot more than they may be expected to this year, and have done such a great job stepping in. Forgive me if I'm forgetting somebody, but those two guys played last week, and I thought they did a good job.
All right, you talked about winning the next one. Obviously, it's the Steelers, and you watched them last night. Let's get into their defense a little bit. Specifically, what challenges do they present?
Yeah, really talented all across the board. Really veteran too, really smart. Obviously, Tomlin's been there forever and kind of has his fingerprints on it defensively, and they know what they're doing. They know where their gap sounds, or where they have to be and be gap sound, and they're good on the back end. They're veteran on the back end. It's a really good defense.
Final thing, a lot of people say you guys have to win out. And the ability to bounce back after losses, it's been well documented how you guys don't lose 2 in a row. The fact that it's kind of a must-win situation the rest of the way, does that feed into this strength you guys have when you're facing adversity?
Sure, yeah, we're excited, man. We don't really know what the math is out there. Of course, we want to win all of them, but you can't win all of them if you don't win this first one. And I know that's not the answer you guys want to hear, and I know it's cliche, but it's the truth. We don't go out there and beat Pittsburgh, we're digging ourselves even a bigger hole, and if we do go out and beat Pittsburgh, we're getting ourselves that much closer to the playoffs. So got to find a way to win this one, and we'll move on from there. I'll chat with you guys next Tuesday about it.
Look forward to it, Jared. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
All right, bye guys.
There he is, the quarterback, Jared Goff, here on 97.1.
Okay, some interesting stuff in there. First, I guess I'm going to say this: beautiful troll job by Jared Goff.
Yeah,
beautiful.
He got us laughing.
Well, beautiful. Where? Somehow I must have just closed my sheet. I just making a bunch of notes. I must have closed it. The reason why I say beautiful troll job is because of what he said about watching the guys do things that he can't do physically. So when he was asked, what kind of quarterbacks is he like in the NFL? Who does he watch? Whatever. And he says, he likes watching, Patrick Mahomes to some extent, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, running around doing stuff that's special, whatever. That was a clear shot in troll job back at the fan base that thinks that Jared Goff isn't a good quarterback because he's not mobile. And if you took that as anything other than him just giving those guys their flowers, and he could have been a little bit, I think that was a troll job and spot on for Jared Goff to do that, because you don't lead the league for 3 seasons in a row. Whether you're leading the league or a top 3 in the league in passing metrics, stats, number one offense, scoring, whatever it is. You don't do it for 3 seasons in a row, and you have a fan base that wants to take a shit on you for what reason? You know, it doesn't make any sense to me. So good job by him for saying that. And then, you know, even though he's pissed off, you know, where the fan base feels like we can't get it done, or some part of the fan base feels like we can't get it done and we still can't make the playoffs. And you know what? We may not. We may not. The cookie just may crumble the wrong way. Or the ball may bounce the wrong way. It could happen. But until it happens, I'm going to be right there to support these guys. And even though he's pissed off about it, what does he say next? He says he's still excited to go back home and play in front of the fans. Even though it's the same part of the same fans that are bashing him online and everywhere else, social media, he's still excited to go back and play in front of his fans. That's an honorable dude to me. He doesn't want to reinstill the faith in the fan base because why? If you don't have faith in him now, then don't celebrate the wins. I've been saying that all season. If you're going to bash the team, if you're going to bash the coach, if you're going to bash the GM, and there's a difference between being critical, right? There's being critical and analyzing the play. I mean, that's what analysts do. I'm a researcher. I research, I analyze, I break down film, I watch all the film multiple times. I look at every position and what guys are doing. Haven't done as many videos this year, but that's what I do behind the scenes. I bring you some pretty spot on takes. I've probably hit on over 80% of the things that I brought to the table. Not many people can do that. But when I do it from a place of love and respect and criticism that is rooted in facts, right? Not just garbage. I'm not just out here hate spewing. Who the hell said fire Dan Campbell?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
It's freaking stupid. Or Brad Holmes. You know, I think that's the dumbest thing ever. That's why I sent you a text. You should put up a poll.
Oh, I am.
That's a freaking dumbest thing I've ever heard. The best coach and best GM in our history, and you want to fire them.
Okay, so there's the poll. We'll start with Dan Campbell. Would you fire Dan Campbell? God, I don't.
I'm voting.
I don't get it.
You can't make, listen, this whole social media thing, you cannot make anyone happy. And I don't get it. All these sourpuss fans have just friggin' completely flipped on the Lions because they're not 15-2. They're not the number 1 seed. They're not hosting a playoff game this year. And they have just went off the friggin' deep end.
Yeah.
Just completely done a 180 on all the Lions. I just, it's these bandwagon fans that jumped on the last 2 years that don't know what the struggle is. And then it's the SOL fans that went through the struggle and just want to go back to it. They love living in misery for some reason. Got spoiled for 2 years with, 12-5 and 18-2. We're going to have a winning season this year. I guarantee we win one of these last 3 games. And we should win all 3 of them.
I'll tell you this. I've got another article that I'm working on. It's another long one. And I should be able to get some videos done today. We've mailed out 300 packages in the last week. It's been crazy. It's been busy around here. The thing about I don't even want to I don't even want to give it away. People aren't going to like it. Let's just put it this way. They're probably not going to like it. It has nothing to do with any defensive lineman. They're probably not going to like it. But I will say this, man. The fact that people just want to live in misery or they find solace in living in misery of what the team used to be. Oh, see, we're just the same old team. Same old Lions, same old this, same old that. What is Dan Campbell's record? What is Dan Campbell's record? What, 54, 43-1?
Oh, it's more than that now. I thought he had over 60 wins.
And maybe he does. But either way, he has at least 10 or 15 more wins than he does losses, and that might be the best coaching record ever. At least in the last 40 years, Wayne Fonts would be the only one that I think had more games than him in the last 40 years. So why? What? I don't get it. I don't understand the hate on Dan Campbell. I don't understand the hate on Jared Goff. I really don't. How about asking the players that are supposed to be your leaders and your all-stars to play better? Because Jared Goff is playing great. Amon-Ra St. Brown playing great. J-Mo has stepped up in a couple of games, putting up some yards. And then we want to say no more Sonic and Knuckles? Like that's done? No, it's not done. It's never been done. Some games you have a great game, some games you don't. Doesn't make any sense to me.
So I was wrong. He's 47, 34, and 1.
No, he's got to have more than that.
That's what it says here for 5 years. It must not be factoring in this year's games. But that's what it says, 5 years in Detroit. And that's on Pro Football Reference. I'll look somewhere else.
Oh, I was looking at his career profile. 54, 43, and 1. You'd have to add up the games for just the Lions.
Yeah.
But he has a winning record. He's plus 500. We know that. Man. So would you fire Dan Campbell? 98% no. The fact that even one person voted yes is crazy.
Yeah, that's just dumb.
What would you fire him for? You must not be a Lions fan. If you're not a Lions fan, just don't vote. Like it's that simple. Just don't vote. So Jared Goff, he's not happy, but at the same time, he's excited to come back home and play for everybody.
Okay, I found it. He's 52, 41, and 1.
Yeah, that's what it says on Wiki, but I don't think that's just Lions. That could include his time in Miami.
No, I think that's including this season, because what I found was it was up till what happened so far this year.
Yeah, but does that include Miami? Does that include his head coaching, all of his head coaching?
As of late 2025, Dan Campbell's record with the Detroit Lions is 52 regular season wins, 41 losses, and 1 tie, plus a 2-2 postseason record. Yeah, and the fact that he's been to 4 playoff games in 5 seasons, that says it right there with 2 playoff wins. You know, he's been to an NFC championship game. These are all things that we dreamed of as Lions fans ever since the early 90s. 91 was the last time you could think about that stuff. So
I think if we just do quick math, 3 wins in 21, 9 in 22, 12 in 23, 15 last year, and 8 right now.
Yeah.
That's 47.
Okay.
Okay. So that's 47. And then you have 13, 3, 13, and 1, 9 and 8, 12 and 5, and 15 and 2, and 8. What are we, 8 and 6, right?
6, right now. Yeah.
Okay. So he's 47, 34, and 1. 47, 30. So I think you had it right the first time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's 47, 34, and 1. I think those other few games are from Miami. But either way, it's a winning record. And you come from, 2021 where you barely won a freaking game. And he's done nothing but win for 4 seasons. And this year, I had a comment. I've been getting these random comments in like older videos. And I don't think people are actually watching the video. Because they'll make a comment like, why are you giving up? Why don't you like Brad Holmes? Did you actually watch the video? Did you actually read the article? Because I don't think you did. Quite simply, watch it. And then you realize that I'm probably one of the biggest supporters of both Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. But I can also be critical of both of those guys. Just like I can do it for any of the players on the team, support them, and be critical of performance, I have done the same thing with Brad and Dan. I have not pulled any punches. I have not pulled any punches at all. And that's why I was saying earlier, when this next article that comes out, is going to discuss a potential huge opportunity missed by Sheila. And you're not going to like it. You're not going to like it at all. All right, what's next?
It's going to be a doggy style kind of Christmas.
Okay, let's go straight. Let's go straight to NFL news when we get back in 17 seconds.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
Snoop Doggy. All right. While my heater's gonna shut off here in a moment, why don't you take it away, man? What's happening on Christmas Day?
Yeah, so you better have your gin and juice ready for Christmas Day, and forget about doggy style. It's going to be a doggy style kind of Christmas. Snoop Dogg, in all seriousness, Snoop Dogg has been announced as the halftime show for the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. The Detroit Lions will be wearing their black Motor City Muscle uniforms, and the Minnesota Vikings will be all white. They're going to be iced out. This is going to be an ice whiteout game for the Minnesota Vikings. And I wonder what jersey Snoop Dogg is going to come out in, if he comes out in one at all. I didn't know he was a Viking fan, so I don't know what he's going to do there. Maybe he'll come out with a half black, half white jersey on, half Lions, half Vikings jersey on, one of those deals. And I wonder what songs he's going to play.
I don't think he's going to come out in a jersey at all. Is he really a Vikings fan?
I don't know. I don't know what he is. So it's kind of different. But Snoop Dogg's holiday halftime party will be during the NFL halftime show for the Lions versus the Vikings live on Netflix on December 25th. So that game, it starts at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. So we got another late game, and it's on a Thursday because Christmas is on a Thursday this year. Oh, and there was even a little video about Snoop Dogg talking about it. I missed that. I would have put that in for today. So yeah, we got Jack White for Thanksgiving. Now we're getting Snoop Dogg for Christmas.
Well, that's Lions the Vikings, man. The Vikings pulled that one off.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. I just wonder what he's going to play that's kid friendly. Maybe he'll have some new. You know how he does a new rap every week for the Sunday Night Football or whatever. Maybe he'll come up with some new Christmassy type raps for the halftime show.
I don't think it has to be kid friendly.
You would think so on Christmas Day.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, I'm sure he'll be somewhat PC about it, but.
Yeah.
He's really changed, man. I mean, growing up with Snoop Dogg, the quote unquote gangster, and the Crypt, and the LA hoodlum, and he has really turned his life into something special. And it's been fun because I grew up. I mean, that's all I listened to was Dr. Dre and the Lox and Snoop Dogg and I mean all of them. Underground Kings and Magic Mike, and I mean, so I listened to so much different types of UGK. That's the Underground Kings. I listened to so much different music growing up, but I was a lot of hip hop, a lot of rap, and then the R&B, man. I mean, I listened to a lot of different stuff back then. But watching him turn his life around it's just been incredible.
Yeah, he does all the stuff with Martha Stewart, and then becomes like an ambassador to the NFL. So it's very crazy for someone that was very much a proponent of smoking pot with Willie Nelson.
Well, I think that his relationship, and the whole thing with Jay-Z and Jay-Z, getting involved into the NFL. I think that has kind of helped bridge, some of that gap there. Maybe, but these guys are performers, man. So they're always looked at, and looked to be able to be part of the Sunday festivals or festivities, Sunday game day festivities.
So Southwest Lion has a question. How many Thursday games have the Lions played compared to other NFL teams? Well, the maximum is 3. So the Lions are playing their third Thursday night game or Thursday game of the season. So the maximum is 3.
You know, here's something that since that was just brought up, poll just went up. Would you fire Brad Holmes? Here's something that maybe isn't spoken to enough, and it's something that I have been just vehemently disgusted within the against the NFL is their lack of care and concern for the players. So they come out with all this hoopla and all this good, PR about, we care about the players' health. We want everybody to be safe, and we're going to change these rules for player safety. And I'm thinking more so now that those rules are adopted and changed to help them be able to involve themselves in the games through the refs is what I believe they're doing. I don't really think they care about the players. And I say that because anytime that you have a team that is playing 3 games in 11 days, and it seems to happen every year. I think last year the Lions had 3 in 11 or 3 in 14. And I'm pretty sure the year before that it was the same way. That is not taking care of your players. There is a way to make the schedule work to where you don't have any team that is having less than 5 or 6 days off. I think the minimum should be 5 days off. If you're playing on a Sunday and you've got to turn around and play on a Thursday, you don't care about the players. There's ways that they can navigate these schedules and lay them out a whole lot better than what they've been doing. And you hear all the excuses. Well, we have to, 32 different teams, and we don't know, is the stadium already rented out for a venue or a concert or this or that? Hello, NFL teams. You should have nothing booked on any Sunday or Thursday or Monday. Maybe you do the schedule years in advance. And you pick, what games are going to be played, at least your base schedule. They can do the base schedule. The only thing that changes is whether you got a first place schedule or not, and where, but it flip-flops every few years to what teams you're going to play, what division you're going to play. They could go out years and get some of this stuff done. But for the Lions on playing on Thanksgiving, that throws a big wrench into things. And I feel like, okay, you give the Lions 2 Thursday games in a row. You don't necessarily have to give them their bye week that week. You give them a Thursday game before Thanksgiving, and then you give them a Sunday game after Thanksgiving, or maybe a bye week every other year, the week before or the week after. One year you give them an early bye week, the next year you give them a late bye week. And if you give them a late bye week, it has to be the week before or after Thanksgiving. It's not hard. And it wouldn't be favoritism. It's just the way that it should be done. So now that I've said that, what has our team done over the course of those games? We expected to go on a 3-game homestand and come away with 3 wins. And yet this team is not only battling injuries, guys coming back from concussion, and guys that are getting injured. DJ Reed is trying to find his footing, coming back, playing a few games, and then having to play a lot in a row. These guys are gassed. They're tired. They played a ton of games in a row, a lot of snaps without any rest. And then they had a mini bye that they probably enjoyed too much. But they still came out and played a pretty decent game, but that damn defense fell apart. I blame a lot of that on the schedule. You still have to perform like any other team does. But I think that the scheduling conflicts and what the Lions have had to deal with almost every single season, you find some hiccups right around that time every year. So that's actually a good topic. That I wish I would have thought about it before today, to dig into what happens when the Lions are playing on short time. Short time off. What do you think about that?
I think that NFL players are disposable.
Oh, yeah.
Other than their big stars, everybody else is disposable. That's why there are so many rules focused on the quarterbacks to keep them clean, keep them safe. That's why they don't want people body slamming them or putting their full body weight onto them. They want touch football with the quarterbacks because that's their money makers. Those are the guys that are exciting, that make the game exciting, right? So same thing with the offense in general. The rules are geared towards the offense to be able to score more points. That's why the kickoff was moved from you get a ball kicked into the end zone. Now, instead, you're going to get it at the 20 or the 25. Now you get it all the way up to the 35, right? I can remember when we always got the ball at the 20. Well, now they give them an extra 15 yards. So, of course, there's going to be a lot more scoring. They've made it easier to score. So the NFL is all about offense, and the rest of these players, like all these defensive players, they're disposable. You know, look at what position on a football team gets the most injuries. It's cornerback. Corners get the most injuries of anyone, like DBs, you know, and teams go through those the most. That's why the Titans just snagged Eric Hallett, is because they lost 2 safeties in their last game. So to me, defensive players, they don't, to the NFL, they don't really matter. They're not the big, unless they're Myles Garrett or Aiden Hutchinson or Micah Parsons, the guys getting sacks. You don't really hear about it. I haven't heard who leads the league in interceptions this year. Who leads the leagues in tackles this year? I don't know who it is. You know, but I can tell you who leads the league in touchdown passes. Because they want you focusing on the offense, not the defense. So a lot of these players are just disposable heroes. And the NFL doesn't care about the turnaround. They don't care about player safety, in my opinion.
So I'll address two quick things. Two quick things in the chat. Number one, here's what I see. And it's always the same individuals that say, you know,
the 3 that
they say that,
Brad.
Yeah, that say that Brad Holmes has not done enough. Okay, good statement. Like I said, now tell me how smart you are. Show me. What would you have done? Who would you have taken? Who was available? How much would it have cost? How much future would you give up? Who do you lose? So when you can actually put something together that tells us more than Brad hasn't done enough. Great statement. Most baseless statement comment I've ever seen. Tell us why. Right? Give us a reason why. Jump on the phone and sell us your pipe dream. But it better be in depth, right? It better tell us an exact plan, because I can tell you without looking anything up how it went down, who was available, how much it would cost, who we would have lost. The answer is nobody. We'll start with this year. I'll spend 2 minutes on this. Number one, there was no centers available on June 2nd. None.
Yeah, none.
None. Draft's done. Free agency's done. 53-man cuts at the end of August. Still no centers available. That ship sailed, right? There's nothing else that we could have done there. Okay, so what's the next logical thing? Okay, I keep seeing this. Davenport shouldn't have been here. Extremely inexpensive contract. Even if Davenport would have been the 3rd rotational guy on the defense, that is an extremely inexpensive and very good football player when he's on the field. AQM has been the starter. He's playing just as good, if not better, than Aiden. So why shouldn't Davenport be here when AQM has taken his spot? And when Davenport is in, he's helping people win. Just because he's been hurt and missed some games, that don't matter. right? We expected Josh Pascal to be here. We expected Levi Onwuzurike to be here. Levi Onwuzurike was a top 10 defensive tackle last year. If he would have been healthy this year, that changes things. Right? So we had our core, and then injuries happen. Levi breaks his back. Josh Pascal can't make it back because he had a back issue. At least that's what they're saying.
Levi happened after the draft, correct? He
Yes.
blew an ACL or something. I think it was an OTA.
Yeah, it was away from the team. That he hurt did something lower body. It was away from No. I think you are right. It might have been an OTAs.
It was an OTA. He hurt his knee, and they didn't think it was as serious as it was, and it ended up being an ACL.
So again, it doesn't matter if Davenport has ever been healthy or not. It really doesn't matter. Tell me another football player that is better than Davenport when he's on the field as your third rotation guy.
That's cheaper.
Even your fourth rotation guy. Look, I don't care if Davenport's the fourth defensive end on the team. Last year as a starter, he was wrecking shit. There's a reason why Aiden was having a good start to his season. Marcus Davenport was on the other side. Marcus Davenport, if you ask anybody in the league that knows him, is going to tell you that is one of the best big defensive ends, can-crushing defensive ends in the league. There's not many like him. He's a former first-round draft pick. But I know who you listen to, and that dude doesn't know shit about football.
Listen, these guys are bringing up Zadarius Smith. Okay, so you wanted Brad to bring back Zadarius Smith, right? We all did at some point. Wanted him to. At some point,
I wanted last year. I wanted to see him play with Hutch, but once we heard that it was $16 million for 1 year,
no.
Come on.
But if we could have got him as cheap as Davenport, okay? Let's say that Brad brings him in, he gets him as cheap as Davenport, and he lets Davenport go. Okay? So he swaps those two players. Davenport goes to the Eagles, and Zadarius comes here. Okay? Well, 4 games in, Zadarius says, you know what? I think I'm done. I'm retiring. Brad would never hear the end of that for the rest of the time that he's here. Oh, you only got 2 games out of both of them, and Aiden was still coming back off of injury, and Zadarius didn't do squat, and he only had 1 sack, and I could just hear it now. And I can't believe that there has been 4 people now in this voting, with 49 people voting. 4 of them have voted yes that we should fire Brad Holmes. That's unbelievable. 2-time GM of the year, back to back. He could be the 3-time reigning this year. He's not going to be this year. But it took a team that was 3-13-1 in its first season and put them into being a perennial playoff team. Multiple Pro Bowlers, all pros.
I gotta call timeout. I gotta throw the red challenge flag for a moment.
What's the matter?
All right. Someone just absolutely validated everything that I've been saying. And it's like some of the same people that say that you don't want Davenport. Davenport's the wrong individual. And then I say, when Davenport is in, there's a reason why Aiden had his great start to last year. And then I see, no, that's not the reason why. It's because Aiden was going against third string tackles. Bingo! Finally, somebody that usually doesn't agree with me at all just said that Aiden had a lot of success because he was going against third string. And I don't want to make today about Aiden at all. I don't. It's Wednesday. I don't really care about Aiden on Wednesday. That was Monday, right? Finishing up on Tuesday. So I'm just glad that people are recognizing that sometimes the truth hurts, man. I can't believe it's up to 5 people now. 5 people out of 50. Look, a lot of people wanted Z and Hutch on the field at the same time. I was one, but you have to think about the fallout and what happens to your squad. So if you would have paid Zadarius Smith $16 million. Remember, it was 10 million this year and another 5.25 or 11. It was 10 point something this year and like another 5 point something next year with him not even on the roster. And he didn't even want to play. Right? He was barely working out. He was traveling with his girl, didn't even really want to play. And he proved that by retiring after a couple of games with the Eagles. He was a third down guy in Philly, could barely get on the field, wasn't doing anything. Brad obviously saw Zadarius Smith more than we did in the locker room last year and on the practice field last year when he was in Detroit. He was a stopgap. We needed somebody because we went through 8 defensive ends. 7. He was a stopgap. He was somebody that could come in and it was going to play immediately. But again, Zadarius Smith was not a 4-down rusher. He's a 3rd down pass specialist, a pass rush specialist. That's what he is at his age. See, the Lions defense, what Kelvin Shepard and Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, what they are trying to build is guys that can play all 4 downs, at least 3 downs. You have to earn the right to rush the passer on 3rd down. And it's not that they're just, making it difficult for these guys. No, those guys do exist in the league. You have to be good against the run. You have to be good against the pass. You have to be able to earn the right to rush the passer on 3rd down or whatever down it is. But if you're not good against the run, if you're consistently missing tackles, if you're consistently blowing assignments, then why would they allow you to rush the passer and then get all the glory? You see, that's what's happened is certain individuals, I'm not even going to name names anymore, miss a lot of tackles, blow assignments, and then they get all the glory. And so you see the glory and you forget about the other 2 downs and what just happened. Happens all the time. Right? It's like the individual that doesn't study, that gets bad grades, and then aces a test. And so their C- average is now a B+ or an A- because the test is so heavily weighted as 80% of their grade. You fail everything else, but you still end up, leaving with a B+, A- because you did great on the exam, which was 1 day out of the year. But all the other 180 days, you didn't do well. Am I making sense yet? And it happens with a lot of players. They get all the glory. So they're up on this pedestal. And then fans don't hold them accountable because they have some stats. All right, let's move on. Man, my God. Amik Robertson.
Yeah.
All right, so we got to talk about the Titans too. So did the Lions make an extremely bad decision here? Eric Hallett clearly had to go back down and then get added back to the practice squad. He's added back to the practice squad, and then the Tennessee Titans poach him. Well, I get it. I think you mentioned the Tennessee Titans lost 2 safeties in the game. Right? Yes. Is that okay? So they lost. So they're looking for what happened. So they're looking for safeties, but let's just be real. Did the Tennessee Titans just go and poach Eric Hallett knowing that the Lions needed him? Knowing that the Lions just used him in the game? Knowing that the Lions don't have any safeties themselves? Did they just go and screw with us and just say, you know what, we're going to pluck that guy? Well, he's instantly now going to be on the roster. Has to be for the next 3 weeks.
Yep.
Right? And so now the Lions are down another safety that knows their defense. And the Titans got like no wins. They're going nowhere. Their playoffs are in the gutter. You telling me that they didn't have another safety that they could have brought up? I don't know. I didn't look at their practice squad, but I feel like the Tennessee Titans did this intentionally. I get it. They lost some players. But did Brad Holmes screw up and not, did Dan screw up and not put him on the roster? Or does this mean that Kirby Joseph is going to play this week? Let's just hope Kirby Joseph is playing this week. Otherwise, this could have been a huge mistake.
Yeah. As of right now, the Tennessee Titans hold the number 3 pick with a 2-12 record on the season. Holy crap. And the teams above them are the 2-12 Las Vegas Raiders and then the 2-12 New York Giants. Well, the Giants play I think the Commanders this week. So you never know with that because the Commanders, they're not very good either this year. You got the Cleveland Browns at 4, the Jets at 5. Oh, it's the Jets that the Giants play this week. Yeah, so you never know. New York could stay the number 1 pick. The Titans could end up being the number 1 pick this year, but they're picking in the top 3. Why the heck are you plucking someone off of a possible playoff contender, someone that's in the hunt? Why are you doing that? To me, that's a complete, excuse my French, dick move. So the next time, I don't know who their GM is down there in Tennessee, but the next time that they want to do a trade with the Detroit Lions, if I'm Brad Holmes, I'm telling them to stick it where the sunshine doesn't go. All right,
where there's no sun, no sunshine.
Yeah, where the
sun don't shine. You know what I'm gonna do if I'm Brad? I'm gonna wait until they get some good players on their practice squad, and I'm gonna poach them. That's what I'm gonna do. It's some BS. So the Jaguars at 10-4 and the Texans at 9-5. Are they trying to help out their own division? I mean, they're in the AFC. It really doesn't have any bearing on us, but I don't know. Maybe they're trying to help somebody else out. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. And again, I didn't do any research into their practice squad if they have anybody, but you better believe Brad is going to have to fight back on this one and do something. Yeah. I just wish the NFL would extend the rosters. They really need to. It's getting to the point now where every team has to, they have to do all these stupid transactions and play this game. Like, how about some more efficiency with this? Like, lessen the load on the GMs and the coaches and all of this, even on the NFL, and having to record all this crap. Just extend the rosters a little bit. Or extend the practice squad like they did during COVID and leave it there. Extend the ability to protect a few more guys. Why not have the ability to assemble your team and keep that team? If we just had 3 or 4 more guys on the practice squad that you could protect, then I think that each team would benefit from that. Big time.
Well, don't you want to put the best product available on the field?
Well, I would say so too. Yeah.
If I'm the NFL, I want the best product possible. Trying to save a few bucks, shaving some roster spots. My God, you have to spend the money anyway. You have a salary cap. You have to be under it. So it's not like it's going to cost you any more money unless you make the salary cap bigger, because those people on the back end, they don't count. It's only your top, 51 contracts anyway. So to me, it just makes no sense that they've been talking about it for years, expanding the rosters. Give them 3 more on the active roster and 3 more on the practice squad, and make it where you can't poach anybody off of practice squads. Just get rid of that. How hard would that be? Well, I think when you travel, say you can only travel with your 53. Okay. So you have 3 more designations that don't play on game day, which is fine. Holy, it is windy. Whew.
Oh,
I hear stuff knocking around outside.
Hopefully you got everything in.
Oh, yeah. But like, I have a sign on the front of my shop and stuff. It's banging against the garage.
Sounds like it needs a screw.
No, it's fine.
So I'm looking something up because someone in the chat just said that Eric Hallett could have refused, and I don't think that's the case.
I think
he'd have to be a vet.
Doesn't the team that he's on have the first right of pulling him up?
They would have had to have put him on the roster.
Yes, but they could have before the Tennessee Titans snagged him. Knowing that they put in a waiver claim for him, they could say, okay, well, we'll just put him up to the 53. You can't have him. They could have done that. but they didn't want to put him up for the next 3 games.
So Eric Hallett is not a veteran, so he couldn't refuse. He has to go through waivers.
Yeah.
And even I think it's after the trade deadline, even if you are a veteran and you get released, you still have to go through waivers.
Mm-hmm.
So he couldn't have refused and said, no, I don't want to sign with you. It doesn't work that way. But Brad could have. Yeah, they could have put him on the 53. They could have. But then again, who are you going to pull down?
Yeah. Yeah. Southwest Lion, what's going on with Whiteside? He is signed to the practice squad.
Don't know what's going on with Strickland. He was supposed to be upcoming. Yeah, I don't know. He's another one that I don't understand this year because they really liked him last season. I mean, obviously he got a little bit more time last season. I think the year before that too, he got some time in. He was supposed to be this special teams guy and your reserve safety. I don't know. Even keeping him around, but he doesn't play. It doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't make any sense to me.
So I got a question for you. Who do you think we put at safety this week? Is it Jalen Mills or Kazir?
Well, so that's another good problem that we have, right?
Yeah.
In the wake of losing Eric Hallett, there is the potential that the Lions, with the guys that they recently brought in, should have that spot filled. So even though we lost them, it may not be the secondary depth crisis, that a lot of us are looking at right now is a major problem. The secondary's in shambles. You have multiple starters out. Brian Branch, obviously, with Achilles done for the season. Amik Robertson's banged up. Kirby Joseph, he's up in the air every week.
Kirby, I am absolutely sick of this Kirby situation. As a fan, it's gotten me burnt like a biscuit. I'm telling you right now. I don't see Kirby playing another game this year.
Well, I hope you're wrong. But Eric Hallett's been poached. The Lions are down 6 key defensive backs this season. The unit has allowed 30-plus points in 4 straight games, raising major alarms, obviously, for the Lions fans. But that defense, man, look, that front 7 depends. Even the front 4 really depends on that secondary to be able to hold, at least, well, with our defensive line that doesn't seem to be able to get there in under 3 seconds. They need to be able to hold up. And we can't allow these quarterbacks to continually get the ball out in under 3 seconds. Dan Campbell said this the other day. He said, quote, "There's some things that we can do to help, and we try to get some of that later in the game. We try to get to some of that later in the game. There's some give and take with that. When you try to reduce stress, now you're putting stress somewhere else. We try to get to where some of that was stopping the run in a lighter box to try to help a little bit. Now, last week I mentioned I expected to see us in more of a light box. I expected to see us with more safeties and DBs on the field. I expected to see one less linebacker potentially on the field, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen until later in the game. I want to say it was third quarter into the fourth quarter. We started to see it a little bit more, with exactly what Dan's talking about, and it helped a little bit. But when you're already down and you're chasing your tail, it's pretty tough. The Rams just went in and scored on 3 possessions in a row, and then you change it up. It's too late. It's way too late, because now you're putting all that stress back on the offense, who played admirably. They put up a lot of points. The run game wasn't working, so Jared Goff just dialed it up with that rocket launcher that he has on that shoulder of his. Or maybe it was the 2 sledgehammers for legs. I don't know. Either one was working. He was navigating that pocket so well. Climbing left, right. He did a great job at finding ways to get the ball out, or at least get it into the dirt where nobody could get it. So with this secondary depth crisis that we have, now losing Hallett, we did bring in Kazir and I'll forget the other dude's name.
Jalen Mills.
Jalen Mills, that's right. So I would say that the potential is we're going to see both of them this week, depending on what goes on with Kirby. If Kirby's not up, then they're probably both going to have to be in. It's not a perfect situation. You're going up against a veteran quarterback, savvy quarterback, still has a good arm, and they have a decent offensive line. They do a lot of what the Rams do, as Dan Campbell has mentioned. This could shape up to be that payback that we don't want to see. Remember, we sent Aaron Rodgers packing out of the NFC North. Kirby picked him off 3 times. No safety has ever been able to do that.
I would love nothing more than to have Kirby back for this game. That would make me happier than happy to have him back this game.
I just don't want to see him back and he plays like shit.
Yeah, or he's in for one game and that's it. You know, I don't know. That whole situation, it's been going on since training camp. Came out, started like gangbusters the first 5 games, and it's been shut down ever since the Chiefs. And I think the fact that he tried to go back into that game after hurting himself only hurt himself even more. And I have to correct something. I was wrong about Nick Whiteside. He is currently on the Lions 53-man roster. He just didn't play much in this last game. So I don't know what happened to him in this last game, why he didn't play much. Sometimes you're on the 53, sometimes you're called up to have a bigger role, and sometimes you're not.
Yeah, it's more so just depth. It's more so just depth. Now, the Lions also brought back their tight end yesterday, Ryuchi, whatever his name is, right? They brought him back.
So we got Rucci and Ricci back?
I believe so. I was looking at the NFL transactions, and I thought that's what I saw, that we got him back. Not that it matters.
Yeah.
Hold on here.
Yeah, I can find it real quick.
I don't see it there. We also signed a defensive back yesterday, Keenan Garber, to the practice squad. Now, Keenan Garber, I don't know a ton about this guy.
No.
Background on him, he's 25 years old. He's 6 foot, 188. I like the height. Played wide receiver, running back, and DB in high school, college. Began as a wide receiver. Had 6 receptions and 82 yards. Then he switched. He requested a move to corner due to the limited success at wide receiver, where he had 59 career games, 17 starts, 52 tackles, 11 passes defensed, 2 interceptions, 1.5 tackles for loss. Returned an interception for a touchdown in 2023. He had an extra year of eligibility, took advantage of the COVID-19 waiver to play a 6th season, got a little bit more experience. So he does come into the NFL a little bit older than your traditional age. NFL journey so far, he went undrafted. Minnesota Vikings signed him as UDFA. Then he was cut after training camp. Indianapolis Colts had a brief stint with him on the practice squad in October of this year. And now the Lions have signed him to the practice squad here in December, as Eric Hallett was then poached by the Titans. He is known as being a versatile corner since he has the wide receiver traits. It gives him a lot of ball skills, some speed, obviously that fits the developmental route for the Lions, or at least that developmental mold. We don't have time to develop anybody right now, and who knows if he'd even be around next year. But he is labeled a developmental prospect, and right now I would say that he is just a Band-Aid. He's just a Band-Aid. You know, you got a severed artery, and we're putting Band-Aids on it right now. And that does not speak to Brad Holmes' failure. Okay, and I want to be clear with that. We cannot trade for anybody. The trade deadline is over. There was nobody available, really, that made any sense at the trade deadline when you don't know what's going on with Curb. And Brian Branch wasn't injured then. So it's hindsight that I think that the fans keep going back to. Why didn't Brad do this? Well, there's 53 spots on a team. There's another, 16 on a practice squad. That's it. That's all you get. You only get, 6 guys on a practice squad that can be vets. You get four guys on a practice squad that you could protect. 10 of those 16 have to have 2 or less seasons. So it's not like you're getting guys, those 10 guys on the practice squad, it's not like you're getting guys that are, world beaters. These are raw developmental guys. UDFAs, a lot of them. 7th round picks, 6th round picks, majority on your practice squad. What else can he really do? What, bring in Justin Simmons? He ain't coming to Detroit. He's a Bronco. I posted the article on it. I mean, you can see for yourself. The dude talks about the Broncos daily. He is their reserve. And he's going to be that reserve. Who knows? He still might play this year.
Is he on IR or something?
No, he's done. He was not
just a free agent.
Yeah. He was not re-upped by the Broncos after having a really good, last season there in 2024.
Holding out for a bigger contract, or
well, no. I mean, he's at the end of his career.
Oh,
he's played a long time.
Semi-retired.
Yeah, he's played a long time.
I was wondering why everybody was jumping on that. Sign him deal.
He's been one of the best safeties in the league over the last several seasons. I mean, several seasons. I want to say that he had the most interceptions by a safety over the last 6 or 7 years, or whatever it's been. But he started his career back in 2016 with the Broncos through 2023, and then he was shipped off to the Atlanta Falcons, or he went to the Falcons for one season in 2024, where he actually had a pretty good year. I don't like his stat line because it says 666 tackles. Bro, you need to go play one more game. You need to quickly go get another tackle, or tell them to take a tackle away. But he was an NFL interceptions co-leader back in 2022. He's a second team, or two-time Pro Bowl 20 and 23, four-time second team All-Pro 2019, 21, 22, and 23. So at the last stages of his career, he was playing at the highest level possible. And he's played a lot of snaps, man. He's what is that? 9 seasons in the league?
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time. Could he come in and play some meaningful snaps? He absolutely could. Is it going to cost you $5 to $7 million? Probably. And when you shake that down to the last few games of a season, it could be, $400,000 a game, $500,000 a game. I don't know. I have no idea on what the numbers would be right now, but I would say it's at least $250,000 a game. It's not like it's super expensive, but the Lions are also limited. They're very limited on what they can do. They are cash strapped. We haven't taken a look at the Lions salary cap in a while.
Yeah. I want to help out one of our members really quick, John Desage. He said he was reading about Za'Darius, how he wanted the Eagles to release him so he could join a contender in the NFC. That is fake. That was a fake report. I saw that report. I read it, and it was fake.
What do you mean? He wanted the Eagles to release him?
Yeah. Since he retired, he wanted the Eagles to release him so he could go play for a contender, and that he wanted to go back to the Packers. And I'm like, no, come on. Just stop it. It was fake.
Yeah. So which fake book site put that out?
Yeah, it was fake. It was on social media. It was more than just Facebook. It was on X as well.
Yeah, there's so much fake shit out there. It's not even funny.
That fake NFC North. Yeah, because that's in the title of their what they're called is NFC North Report or something, or NFC North something or other. It's called, and they put out all this fake stuff.
I mean, that's how they get clicks, man. That's how they make money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. And I had like 3 people send it to me, and I'm like, no, he's not coming back. He's not getting released out of his contract from the Eagles. If anything, he would have to go back to the Eagles if he unretired.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, Lions team cap space, $20 million.
Ouch.
That's what they have left for 2025. When you go to 2026, we have 5.9 million. 5.9. That's it. So even when the league adds, let's say, another 30 million to it, that's 30, call it 36 million next year. And that is why Brad Holmes is holding on to that 20 million so he can roll it over. He's going to roll it over because that'll give us about 59 million. And then you're going to have all the adjustments from there. The dead cap adjustments. So your effective cap space number is not this. It'll be much smaller. And depending on where the Lions pick, let's just say we're picking, again, at the back end of the round, that's going to cost about $11 million to sign your rookies, maybe 12 at the most. And so if you start the season with 36 million and you roll over 20, that's 56 million. And then you've got to spend at least, call it 12 million. Now you're down to, what is that, 44 million? That's all you have. And that's before any adjustments. So I would say that number is probably going to dwindle to about 32, 33, 34 after you sign your rookies. That is not a lot of money. In the NFL, that is one elite player if you think about it. I just, in the article yesterday, I painted the picture that there's now 6 positions in the league, 3 on offense, 3 on defense, that average more than $30 million a year for an elite football player. Obviously, quarterback, wide receiver, offensive tackle. On the defense, it's the edge position, corner. What was the other one? Corner and
Safety.
No, it's corner, safety. Well, it might have been defensive lineman. I think it was defensive line. Here, I'll go back and look. Let's see. Yeah. Here it is. Quarterback, 55 million, average APY. Wide receiver, 33 million. Offensive tackle, 30 million. Edge, 35 million. Defensive tackle, 30 million. Cornerback, 30 million. Safety is around 25 for the top end. I mean, you could get close to 30 with some of these guys. And you know what? The numbers are going to rise about another 10, 15% this year for the top end. And even the edge position, the way that it is, it's just an average at 35. And I look at the top 10 salaries in the league, and then you kind of formulate your average from there. I went with super round numbers. I didn't get too granular with it. But what I said about Brad Holmes yesterday is when you think about drafting or buying a Super Bowl, you think that most fans agree that drafting and developing is the best way to field the team for sustained success. And especially in today's economic climate with those 6 positions that are taking up that kind of money, the price tag, for an elite football player now is sky high. And it's kind of been that way. It's been commensurate to the cap number, but now it's far exceeded what used to be commensurate to the cap number. Maybe whereas it was 10% of the cap was, the number to get an elite football player, that number's creeping 12, 13, 14%. And every percent you go up, that is a player that you're taking away. 1% of $300 million is $3 million. You're losing a low end player like Marcus Davenport, right? That costs you less than $3 million. Or Al-Qadim Muhammad that costs you less than 1.5. You're losing players like that. Roy Lopez, I think he was in that $3 million range. But Brad has kept all the resources required to build and maintain elite players of the future on the roster with the hope of winning a Super Bowl, but it's not easy. Right? It's not easy. The teams that draft well, they reinvest in their own players. They have the upper hand, and that's why the Lions still have the upper hand. Below, in this snapshot that I gave, I kind of outlined all the teams that drafted and developed. So again, check this out. Subscribe. It's free. DetroitFootballJournal.com. Eric, what's next on your list? Go for it.
Well, I got something that kind of wasn't on my list, but I mentioned it to you when we were getting ready today. I'd like to switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about something positive. The Detroit Lions have a chance with 4 players to do something that's only been done once in NFL history. Back in 2013, the Denver Broncos were the first team in NFL history to have 4 players score at least 10 touchdowns each in a single season. And this was achieved back in 2013 with Julius Thomas, Noshan Marino, Wes Welker, and Demaryius Thomas all reaching double digits in touchdowns. And this year we have J-Mo, who has 7 touchdowns with 3 games left to go. David Montgomery with 8 touchdowns with 3 games to go. And then you have Amon-Ra with 11 and Jahmyr Gibbs with 13. And Amon-Ra is at 1,140 yards on the season, and J-Mo is at 936. So if J-Mo gets anywhere close to what he's done the last 3 games, he's went 144, 96, and 134 in yards. So he's averaging over 100 yards, like 120-ish yards for the last 3 games. This game, Jameson Williams could go over 1,000 yards on the season after such a slow start to the season yardage-wise. So I thought that was pretty cool. Do you think that we could get 4 players at 10 touchdowns on the season and match what the Broncos did back in 2013?
Who are the 4 players?
The 4 players back in 2013.
No, this year.
Oh, this year?
Yeah.
It would be Jameer and Amon-Ra. They're already there.
Yeah, they're already there.
And then you have David Montgomery has 8, so he needs 2 more touchdowns. And then J-Mo needs 3 touchdowns.
Hold on here.
And I do think that J-Mo will get to the 1,000-yard mark, and we'll have 2,000-yard receivers and 1,000-yard rush runner. So that'll give us 3 of them once again with over 1,000 yards. On
we had 4 before, and that's because it's all purpose yards. We're missing Sam Laporta, man.
Oh yes, yeah, big time.
So I guess the odds are now on David Montgomery and J-Mo.
Yep.
And J-Mo has 7 TDs.
Yep. And David has 8.
So the other day I updated my season long, right? My season long predictions. Yep. And let me see if I can find it real quick, because in there.
And just to give you a little more stats, David Montgomery in the last 3 games has 1 rushing touchdown in each game. And then J-Mo has a touchdown in 2 out of the 3 last games.
Has 2 out of the 3 what?
2 out of the last 3 games, J-Mo has a touchdown. So he went touchdown, no touchdown, touchdown. And David Montgomery went touchdown, touchdown, touchdown in the last 3 games. So what do you guys think in the chat? Can we get 4 players all to 10 touchdowns on the season? Be the second team to ever do it.
I mean, anything's possible, right? And so what I had on the season, my season prediction was I had Gibbs at 1,300 yards on the ground, 600 in the air, 19 total TDs. That's what I had for Gibbs.
Wow.
19 total. Montgomery, I had him at 1,000 yards rushing, 350 receiving, 12 plus TDs. St. Brown, I had him at 1,300 yards receiving, 12 plus TDs. J-Mo, I had at 1,200 yards receiving and 10 plus TDs.
Yeah, he can get there too.
So I did have those 4 players with 10 plus TDs. Sam Laporta, believe it or not, I only had him at 909, but his season was cut short.
Yep.
Isaac Tesla, I had him at 400 yards and 5 TDs. I think he'll get close. He's very close. He's only 1 TD away, and I think he's 200 yards away.
Speaking of Tesla, it really boggles my mind that they don't use him over the middle more, because he's got a knack for getting open over the middle. I don't understand. They're just trying to use him on these out routes every single time.
Here's
going to the boundary.
Here's what I'll say about Tesla, because I continually see this as well. Why did we spend all these 3rd round picks on Isaac Tesla, who hasn't done anything? Well, number one, Isaac Tesla is literally like the seventh guy, or the 6th guy on game day, whatever it is. Depends how many people we have up. He's the last look, right? Unless they're actually going to him, he's the last look. You need somebody out there. Now, right now, he's going to get a lot more time. He's going to get a lot more experience, which is good for him. But as I've gone through and watched film and I watched Tesla, I see a player that is not polished, right? I see a player that is not, his route running is not all there. And I think that that's why he has a little bit of hindrance in production, is because Jared Goff can't trust him just yet. It's going to take time. He's a 3rd round draft pick. Okay, we got to get this Amon-Ra St. Brown, out of our heads. We have to get the Ndamukong Suh expectation for Tyreek Williams and Aleem McNeil out of your heads. And I think that that's what a lot of fans are dealing with is they see, well, Ndamukong Suh came into the league and he completely wrecked it. He was a first-round pick. Aleem was a third-round pick. Tyreek was a first-round pick. And they're thinking that that's who he's supposed to be. BS. Hardly anyone has ever done what Ndamukong Suh did. Right? Only Aaron Donald you can compare to Ndamukong Suh as to what they did, in the first couple of seasons in the NFL. How many defensive tackles have been that dominant? Not many. So why are we expecting all of our players to just be these crazy dominant football players from day one? It is so unrealistic.
I wasn't dominant from day one.
No, it took him until everybody was injured, and then Jared Goff had nobody else to go to but him. And he earned it. And he was earning it. He was playing pretty well. Okay, so back to Tesla. I don't know how to be any more clear because I know that I've spoken about this many, 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 many times. What Brad Holmes traded were free comp picks. Free. He didn't have them before. They are useless, right? Because they're late round picks. Number one, they're essentially fourth round picks because the fourth round would have started. So I look at them, they're fourth round picks. Early, very early in the fourth round. They're just categorized as a third round pick. But when you trade those picks, what other NFL teams view those as coupons. That's what they are. It's a 50% off sale. So when you trade those in the future, mind you, those are now used as a 50% coupon in that year's trade. So you're getting a third round pick in trade. Well, they really value it as like a sixth round pick. It's worth half as many points as it normally would be if you were trading a third round pick in 2025's draft to somebody in 2025. Well, now that pick's worth a lot more. So yeah, had we held on to them to 2026, they probably would have had a lot more value in 2026 had we traded them in 2026. Here's the issue. Isaac Tesla had all of these great expectations put on top of his head. I don't know why. I really don't. I mean, even as a third round pick, why do people think that every third round pick is supposed to start and be a great player? I'll give you the numbers again. About 15% of all third round picks in the last 15 years have started in an NFL game. And 3% of those 15% have become elite football players in the last 15 years. That is not many football players. So stop putting all these crazy expectations just because we drafted them in a third round. A lot of third round picks turn out to be nothing burgers. So I don't really know where to go from it, go with it from here other than to say next year he's probably going to be a lot better than he was this year. Next year we might not have Khalif Raymond, so he'll be installed into the offense very early. He'll be a year older, a year wiser, a year stronger, right? A year more into the NFL system. Another year with Jared Goff, another training camp. He has the body, he has the hands, he has the speed. Now he just has to put the other things together. And so right now, yeah, there's certain games that I'm saying I want to see more Tesla. I want to see him utilized a little bit more. I wanted to see him utilized more as a tight end in this last game. The Lions didn't do that. But what I saw through the film is that he was not running great routes, and he looked lost at times. But it's undeniable that if you do target him, he can come down with some passes at times. He can, or some good plays. Excuse me. He can come down with some pretty amazing plays.
Yeah, I thought the game against the Rams was probably his worst game of the year.
He wasn't really targeted. He wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't. Installed.
Well, he did, but the only time that Goff targeted him in this whole game was running to the boundary and running to the corner of the end zone. That's it. And if you're just running two routes, and the DBs know the only time he's going to throw it to you is on those 2 routes, they're going to cover the hell out of you. And he just did not get separation in the end zone on that one play and let the defender basically take him down before the ball even got there. He just got out physicaled, which is very, very strange for him.
Here's the other thing to think about. And I don't understand what people don't understand. This team is pretty loaded, right? So as you start getting into your 4th and your 5th draft, and you've already assembled 7 or 8 starters that are really good football players, where are you going to be able to fit more top end football players that can start? Are you going to go out and take another number 1 wide receiver that is going to compete with Amon-Ra St. Brown when you have Amon-Ra St. Brown? You're developing Jahmyr Gibbs to play out of the slot a little bit more, which hopefully next year we'll see a whole lot more. So you don't really double down or triple down or quadruple down on a position like that. It doesn't make any sense. You need to use that 1st round pick somewhere else, like the offensive line. But the quick point that I'm going to even say about this team is, as you get into that 4th, 5th, 6th draft, and you've kept all of those players, you don't have a whole lot of room. You might have, I bet you I can go find tape of Brad saying something similar. You might have 2 or 3 guys in next year's draft that for sure are going to make the team. You probably had 3 or 4 guys this year that were for sure going to make the team. And then the other ones are happenstance because maybe someone was injured. Right? Not everyone is going to make the roster every year. In all of these drafts going forward, don't expect it. Don't expect your 5th, 6th, and 7th round draft picks to make it. Matter of fact, don't even expect your 3rd round picks to make it if Brad does somehow miss and that 3rd round pick doesn't work out. Don't expect it because they don't have the room. Now, I do want to transition. Are you good on time for a minute?
Yeah, I'm great today.
Okay, so let's talk about Brad for a moment with misses or potential misses. One thing that I did not address in the article that I put out the other day on DetroitFootballJournal.com is this. Let's talk about Brad's ego for a moment, because I've heard this time and time and seen it, read it time and time again. Eric, do you believe that Brad Holmes has an ego that kind of looks like this? I drafted that player. I feel like I'm the smartest man in the room, so I drafted that player, and I'm not going to give up on that player. I'm going to keep that player until I absolutely have to move off of him. And would that be to the detriment of the team that Brad is going to hold on to a player that maybe isn't working out too long? Do you believe that about Brad?
I believe at first that was the case.
Do you have
And
any?
I think-
Do you have any examples?
Well, like Broderick Martin, Hendon Hooker, some of the guys that he got early on. Okay, some of the later round picks from his first 3-4 seasons. I think he kept a couple of them around a little too long.
Like
I don't
which
think-
ones? Which ones do you think?
Like Hendon Hooker and who's the other one?
Hendon Hooker wasn't even around for 3 seasons.
Yeah, but they held him as long as they could. They saw that it wasn't working out and they let him go.
So let's talk about that for a moment. So he was brought in
Yeah.
year 1. He was injured. He couldn't play.
Yeah, well, I got that. Yeah.
So he's on NFI his first year. The second year, he's on the roster with Teddy B.
Yep.
Right? And the third year, he's gone. So did Brad really hold on to him? He gave him 1 year.
No, he was here for 4 seasons.
Hendon Hooker?
Yes.
When was Hendon Hooker drafted?
2021, 21 or 22.
Definitely wasn't 21. It was 2023.
All right.
third round, 2023. So
how many
23,
years?
2.5, really. So his first year in 23, he's got the injury, couldn't play all season. So that year is done. What the Lions did is they brought him up to the roster the last 6 games, so they didn't toll his contract. 2024, that's the year that they give him to hit the field, learn, it's time to go, and then they brought in Teddy B. That kind of told you right there that Hendon wasn't picking it up. It always took him a little bit of time, but Brad knew that the roster was squeezing. And so now in 2025, he gets through training camp, he's gone. So really they gave him 1 season and 2 training camps. That's it. So I don't think that he held on to Hendon Hooker at all. I think that he cut bait. I felt that he cut bait as quick as he could with giving that player an opportunity to prove himself. And then Brad's like, enough's enough.
Okay.
That's
Martin,
that. Okay, so Broderick was brought in was that 22 or 23? Hold on. 23. Same thing. Broderick Martin comes in 23 healthy.
Mm-hmm.
As a third round 96th pick overall.
Yeah.
I get it. We traded a little bit. There was no other defensive tackles in that draft that were available until later. But again, if you had the foresight to tell me that certain players were going to jump off the page. Now there was a couple of players that I saw were going to be really good.
Was that the season that you and I went to the draft or to the combine?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because we love Brandon Fisk and.
No, it was last year, not 25, but 24. We went, not 23.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was 24. So the player that I wanted the Lions to take was Kobe Turner. He went at pick 89, so he went 7 picks before the Lions took Broderick Martin. But the Lions didn't have a third round pick. Right? We didn't. We had to move our way back up. If I remember it all correctly, we had to move our way back up into that round. We didn't. Otherwise, if they would have moved up 10 spots further, Kobe Turner's probably on this squad. But there was no defensive tackles, no nose tackles with that kind of size, which we desperately needed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That you could have taken a shot at. Again, so they gave him 1 shot. His first year, his second year at the end of training camp into preseason, he busts up his knee. So then he's injured for like the first 8 or 10 games of the year. He went on IR. The next season, he goes to training camp. He's gone. So I don't feel like he held on to him, and I don't feel like it's a miss either. Because why? Who else would you have added if you were looking for that player, that style of a player, that body type? Let's, I know I've done this before, but if we go back and take a look at that draft in 2023, in the third round, if you want to look up what our original draft picks were in 23, that would be helpful. Because I can't remember what exactly, we drafted Hendon Hooker in the third round, but that was because we moved around, right? We did some trades early on. We navigated to earn another third round pick or something like that. I know that, yeah, we'd have to look and see what the original picks were and how it all went down.
It was Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, Hendon Hooker, Broderick Martin, Corby Sorsdahl, and Antoine Green.
Yeah, but I'm saying, what was our original draft picks? The number. Where were we original before any trades, right? So think about that. So repeat the first 4 names for me one more time.
Well, Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, and Branch.
And so did we really need any more players after that?
No.
Oh. So you're taking players just to take players that were never really going to see the field. Those were going to be your depth guys in your special teams. Exactly what I outlined in this article. Again, will show you or tell you, not you specifically, Eric, but everybody else there listening, why Brad does what he does. He's building 3 phases. He's gone offense, he's gone defense, and then in the later rounds, you're plugging special teams players in that can play offense or defense if absolutely needed, but he's building 3 teams, not 2. He's not just doing offense and defense. It's offense, defense, special teams. So, yeah, Hendon Hooker, we needed a backup. There was no other backup available unless we would have taken one early and wasted those picks, and then we don't get Branch, we don't get Jack, we don't get Gibbs. Who are we giving up? We don't get Sam? You know what I mean? So who are you taking early? There's no other quarterbacks, and I don't know if there's been any quarterbacks in the 23 draft that were taken after Hendon Hooker that have really worked out. I mean, none are bouncing in, into my head right now. There could be, but if you look at Broderick Martin, where we started, who else was taken after him? Siaka Ika? What has he done? Nothing. Okay. You could have taken Mekhi Blackman to corner. That would have been a better pick, but you're talking a different position. If you're really looking for a nose tackle or a defensive tackle, you could have taken Colby Wooden. He went to the Packers. Colby Wooden's turned out to be pretty good. You could have taken Wooden, 4th round pick. You could have taken Cameron Young from Seattle. He went to Seattle. I don't remember how he's played. And that's it through the 4th round. 5th round, Jacqueline Raw. I don't think he's done much for the Vikings. Or Jacqueline Roy, however you want to pronounce his name. See, Brad was looking at the size, and Brad was looking at the talent that was there. A guy that can move the way that he did. He just didn't pick it up. Yeah, we could have taken Puka Nacua at 177 before Colby Sorsdahl. Again, we beat that horse. Nobody knew who Puka Nacua was. Nobody knew who he was going to be. That's why the hindsight 2020 game and the redrafts are so silly. Because it's if we all knew that this was going to happen, of course we would have taken these players. You don't think that Brad would have taken Puka Nacua if he would have known?
Oh, yeah. Well, listen to this. So we took Hendon Hooker in that draft, right, in 2023. The quarterbacks that went ahead of Hendon Hooker, Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, they're still both starters. And then you got Anthony Richardson. He's out in the Colts. Will Levis, he's out for the Titans. And then you had Hendon Hooker. And then after him, you had Jake Henner, Stetson Bennett, Aiden O'Connell, who is now starting for the Raiders that have 2 wins on the season. Then you have Clayton Tune, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Sean Clifford, Jaron Hall, Tanner McKee, and Max Duggan.
Nobody.
Have any of them done anything in the NFL whatsoever?
None.
No. Aiden O'Connell's the only one that started and won a couple of games, but he is horrible. He's lost more games than he's won.
Yeah, it's Raw, I did get your email. But if you would like to you know what? I'll email you back later on today. Here's the thing. In 23 we took Antoine Green in the 7th round. He didn't work out. Yep, should have taken Puka Nacua instead of Antoine Green, but that was the 7th round, not the 5th round, right? There's absolutely some players that you could have taken in this draft, not named Broderick Martin, like Moro Ojomo. I liked him. The Eagles liked him. He's played pretty well. Right? 7th round draft pick. Again,
that's all looking after the fact.
Exactly. And you have to also look at, well, what are they asked to do on that defense? Here's something else that's forgot about. Okay.
You know what this is like? This is like seeing what the results of week 16 are going to be before it happens.
Yeah. Or who the Super Bowl winner is before the season starts.
Yeah. No, just for 1 week, every week I'll give you 17 or 18 tries. Try to pick every single game on that week's slate correct. Okay, it's easy to do after the fact, after the games have been played, but before the games have been played, it's pretty darn hard, right? So if you can get 15 out of 17 games correct, that's pretty darn good. And that is what Brad Holmes is doing. So that's my analogy for Brad Holmes. He's hitting on a very, very high percentage, and he's hitting the games and the players that needed to be hit on. You know, the first rounders, the second rounders. Now there's been some second rounders that haven't worked out. You got Jeff Paschal, Levi O. There's been a couple of second rounders that didn't do so hot. But then there's been some second rounders that are doing very well.
So I think we forget about the fact that when Brad came into this league, or came into this team, this roster, 85% of the roster was dumped in 2021. If you haven't noticed, well, one, we didn't have any money in 21 or 22. We were cash strapped, dead money everywhere. We did have draft picks. But have you ever thought back and wondered why Malcolm Rodriguez was a starter as a 5th round draft pick? Yeah, he looked like he was playing well. He did play well. You heard Calvin Shepard saying that he was one of the best linebackers in the room as a rookie. 5th round draft pick. Really hard to keep off the field when you're smart and you're making good decisions. That's why I've said from the neck up, from the shoulders up, right? If you're able to make really great decisions and you don't fit a prototypical NFL size or speed or anything else, you can affect a game. You can be a pretty damn good football player. But if you're not smart and you're consistently making mistakes and you don't fit the size, not going to cut it. You're not going to make it. But there's a reason why guys like Malcolm Rodriguez were starting in 2021. We didn't have anybody. This team was depleted. So for the first 2 seasons, you had nothing but every draft pick starting or playing significant amount of snaps. And then 2023 happened. Well, then we bring in some really good football players in the first 3 rounds. 4 guys, all starting, all playing at a high level. And then everyone thought that Jack Campbell was a bust, wasn't playing well. Now look at him. Jack was my number 1 guy. One of the calls that I made. I called all 4 of those guys. I called all 5, the first 5 actually. Point that I'm trying to make here is that when you go through the first 2 seasons and you have to get all of those guys to play and play meaningful snaps, I think the fan base is looking at that and saying, well, wait a second. Brad, every player you drafted in 21 and 22, they all started. They all played a lot of snaps. Well, how come all the players you drafted in 23, 24, and 25 aren't doing the same? Hello? We needed to build the team. You needed to build the depth. You needed to continually add great football players. And then as time wanes on, well, those players that were starting in 21 and 22 are now your depth with a considerable amount of experience. That's how Brad has put this together, and that is so damn smart. As opposed to just grabbing guys off the practice squad, off the couch, late round draft picks every year and expecting them to give you meaningful snaps is depth. Well, now you can trust in, if you lost all of your linebackers and Malcolm Rodriguez is the 6th linebacker and now he's in, well, he played a lot in 21 and 22 and in some of 23. Got injured in 24, but you know that he can handle it. You don't have that on a lot of teams. So the article will explain why depth is so important. It is more important than your starters. I know that sounds stupid, but just look at what happened last year. And look what's happening now. We had a lot of guys out, still do, and we're still able to win games. Yeah, we may not be pulling off 2, 3, 4, 5 wins in a row right now, but we're still in it. And we have some really good football players on this roster. We technically are healthier than we were last season, but we are missing a critical piece to this team, and that is our safeties. 2 of the best football players in the league. Gone. That's really hard to make up. When 20% of your team, on your 20% of your starting defense is missing, and they just so happen to be 2 of the best safeties in the league, you can't replace that. You can't replace what those guys are doing. So, yeah, it's putting a lot more pressure on the front 7. I don't want to spend all day on this, but I did at least want to kind of go through that. The whole Broderick Martin thing, there was not another defensive tackle or a nose tackle that you could have taken after that you knew was going to be a home run. And so the same thing about Isaac Tesla is that they wanted that body type, that body size. He's a good football player. He has all the intangibles. He fits what the team, does. He fits the offense. He has great speed. He needs development time. But in front of him, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams. You don't need him to play meaningful snaps right now. He's playing more than what Patrick did. He's performing better than what Tim Patrick did, or around the same level. So it's a 1-for-1 trade-off. But Tim Patrick was a 10-year vet. Tesla is doing what he was doing, and he's doing it as a rookie. Wait till Tesla has 2 seasons under his belt. Then what are you going to say? It's going to be the same thing that Eric, you and I have been saying every year. Told you so. Told you so. Just wait and see. I know you want it right now, and so do I. I would love for nothing more than the Lions to win a Super Bowl this year. But I'm also okay with the fact that this team is set up the right way, and I know that next season we're going to hit the ground running, and we're going to be right back in it again. Unless something crazy happens. Like you trade Jared Goff. And then you start over with a rookie. And rookies take 2.5 years on average to make the playoffs. If they even work out. Who I would bring in next year? Well, I don't know who that would be. But I would have brought in, someone like a Daniel Jones had he not been injured, but he probably would have got a contract. I would have brought somebody like that in as a backup. I don't know why we don't do moves like that. Those are the moves that I bang my head around a little bit. Like, other teams make great moves like that. Those are the things that we don't do. So where I started with this is on Brad Holmes. I asked you the first question, is his ego too big to where he won't let players go just because he drafted them? And for me, the answer is no, because it wasn't that he had to. It wasn't that he was holding these players longer than he needed to. We didn't have a choice because of the depth on the team, what the roster needed, and where we were already developed. We had so many players already hit pay dirt. And so that changed the formula. That changed everything for what Brad had to do. He had to supplement, find more starters. Supplement, find more starters. And now we're in a great position. So I guess the second question, Eric, about Brad Holmes would be this. Is he doing enough late into the season, we'll say before the trade deadline, to ensure that this team has enough to make a run?
I think he did both last year and this year, and then injuries just derailed everything he tried to do. You can't predict injuries. It's impossible. So I don't blame Brad for the way he's done anything, and giving up a bunch of draft picks to get some player that may or may not be on your team the next year, or even be able to play the rest of the year. We trade for some big name, and then the next game, the very first play, they snap their leg. You don't know. So all this woulda, coulda, shoulda crap, I don't play into it.
All right, so I'll come back to that in a minute. Let me address the. And please, if you got questions, put it in caps so that we can see it and we can address it. I do want to go more to the chat every day. So here's a question: how is bringing in injury-prone players depth, or drafting injury-prone players depth? Okay. Number one, you don't know if someone's injury-prone. You have define injury prone. What does that mean? That they had one injury before? Or they had a catastrophic injury before? Did they have 2 injuries before? What were the injuries? What grade injuries? How long did those injuries last? What is injury prone? I'll help us for a moment. I'll just ask AI. What does injury prone mean
for an NFL draft prospect?
For an NFL draft prospect.
And I'll say this, I am glad that Brad is not of the mind of F those picks and F the salary cap like Howie Long or like Green Bay just did. Green Bay just crippled their team for the next 3 seasons. They have no first round picks. They have no money. And they have a guy that, when playing, was in the top 3 of edge rushers in the NFL. But now you knew coming in that he was injury prone. He had a back issue coming in that they thought was all resolved. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. He was playing very well, and then he blows his ACL on a play where nobody even touched him. So when you take a gamble like that, man, sometimes it can pay off, and sometimes you can get burned because he's not playing until Thanksgiving next year.
Yeah. Well,
if they're lucky,
he has a chance to come back for week 1, 2, but it's going to be a stretch. You know, he's him and Brian Branch are kind of in that same. They're in that same boat. You know, not 9 months. It's possible, but is it really likely? Would you want to ruin his potential for the whole season? You know.
Listen, the only player that I've ever seen have an ACL, come back in 9 months or less, and just have a world-class dominant season was Adrian Peterson with the Vikings. Other than that, I've never seen it with any other player.
So here's what injury prone means according to Jeff. He says, what analysts or teams label a prospect as injury prone, they are suggesting this. 1, the player has a history of recurring injuries, often soft tissue issues like hamstrings, repeated structural injuries like shoulders, knees, or ankles. 2, there's concern that their body may not hold up to the physical demands of the NFL. 3, even if the player is talented, teams worry about availability because the best ability in pro football is often said to be availability. Okay? There's also the impact on draft stock, medical red flags, risk versus reward, contract value, roster planning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so let's start with injury-prone Jameson Williams. Lions traded up, gave away some draft picks to move up to grab J-Mo. Well, according to injury-prone, he had a soft tissue injury, right? He had structural damage, required surgery, missed his entire first season except for the last 4 or 5 games, whatever it was. Well, it hasn't repeated. Hopefully it never repeats. But that's a player that he brought in that was injured. Not even injury prone. Injured. Pretty good pick. Right? See, what we need to understand as fans, because we're not doctors, maybe some of you are, is that when you have an injury like an Achilles or an ACL, MCL, PCL, the likelihood that that is going to happen again to the same leg is far less than if you never had the injury before. It's more likely to happen to the other leg, not the same leg again, because typically the repair is much stronger than it was the first time. So Brad made a good decision there. J-Mo's availability has been there when he's not suspended. Right? That's the only time he's been out. So there's that. Who else did we bring in that was injured? Do you remember? Okay, Hendon Hooker.
People are saying Levi, Josh Paschal, and Hendon Hooker.
Okay, so Hendon Hooker, he wasn't injured in the NFL.
People thought that J-Mo was going to be injury prone.
But let's talk about Hendon first.
Yeah.
Hendon didn't get injured again. He didn't re-injure himself.
No.
He had a concussion. That's football. I would never say someone's injury prone with concussions because that can happen any day. So it's soft tissue and it's structural. That's what we're looking at. So Hendon was not injury prone. You put him in the same boat as J-Mo. Same boat. Did not re-injure themselves. Okay? The second player, Josh Paschal. Josh Paschal had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Cancer. That's not an injury. That's a disease. For what we know, he has not gotten cancer again. He hasn't had a reoccurrence since he's been in the league that we know of. Right? Has not been said. What injuries did he have that kept him out that he had in college? Can anybody tell me? Does anybody know?
I'll say this. My mind has changed on one player and one player only about being injury prone. And he's basically lost his first 2 seasons because of injury, and that is Ennis Rakestraw. I think he's got a ton of talent, and I was really rooting for the kid. I got his jersey, and man, I felt so bad for him getting injured at training camp.
Okay, here's... go ahead.
You know, we were there that day. And when you get slammed to the ground and you land on your shoulder, what can you do when you break your shoulder or you tear a labrum or something?
It's football.
You can't, you know. Now Ennis is smaller framed. He's a smaller DB, and we knew that coming in. And he had a few injuries in college. So I guess he's the only player that I can think of that Brad has drafted that is injury prone. That they even said that when we drafted him. That was why I think it was the Eagles passed on him and we took him in the second round, and they took Cooper DeJean, if I remember correctly.
Possibly, yeah. I don't remember. So let's go to Josh Pascal here. Everyone, some people in the chat are saying Josh Pascal was injury prone. Brad shouldn't have brought him in. 2017 as a freshman, played all 13 games, no injuries. 2018 as a sophomore, cancer, no injuries. 2019 through 2021, played full seasons, no injuries. Entered the NFL with no injuries. All of his injuries were sustained in the NFL. That's football. What are you going to do about it? You just drafted the guy because he has a bum ankle and he misses a few games. He's, that's it. Done with you. See ya. We're going to eat your contract. Out the door you go. Come on, people. Be real. So Josh Pascal was not injury prone. Ennis Rakestraw, you brought him up. What did he have? Torn ACL in 2021 in his sophomore season. Ended his first year after just 4 games. And then he had a core groin injury in 2023. Serious enough to require core muscle surgery and caused him to miss 4 games, the Senior Bowl, and limited him at the Combine. So he was coming into the league with a core muscle injury. Now, if I remember correctly, here, let me just ask, what injuries did Ennis Rakestraw have?
You got people saying Marcus Davenport. We didn't draft.
Didn't
Marcus
draft
Davenport.
him, but I'll get to that in a moment.
Stay on point. Stay on point.
I'll get to that in a moment. All right, so Ennis Rakestraw with the Detroit Lions, rookie season 2024, had a hamstring injury. Occurred during a pregame warm-up, led to missed time and eventual placement on injured reserve. He appeared in only 8 games. He contributed mostly on special teams. He missed significant time in his rookie season, prevented him from locking down the nickel corner spot, which he was supposed to be playing. And then in 25, he had a chest contusion. Suffered on the very first day of training camp, recovered and returned to practice. And then he had a shoulder injury sustained during camp and preseason action, season-ending shoulder surgery in 2025. Shoulder injuries, unfortunately, are like so common for corners and safeties. So in his time in the league, he has not had a reoccurrence of the core muscle injury. Now, I know that they were limping him in and trying to slowly bring him in his first year. but he has not had a reoccurrence of that injury. So he's not injury prone.
Yeah, in his first year, the plan was he was going to be the starting cornerback on the Tampa Bay game in game 2, but he went out for pregame warmups and pulled a hammy.
I'm glad that Matthew Judon was released. That's wonderful news. He won't be in Detroit.
Well, I have a little bit of breaking news that does not affect the Lions whatsoever, but it's kind of, you might get something out of it. The Dolphins are benching Tua Tagovailoa has been benched, and they're going to start rookie Quinn Ewers versus the Bengals.
Yeah, they're probably trying to make sure he doesn't get injured the rest of the year.
Yeah, they're going to get rid of him after the year.
Possibly. He should just retire.
Yeah.
Okay, so who else is next? So we've talked about draft pick Ennis Rakestraw. We've talked about draft pick Jamison Williams. We talked about draft pick Josh Paschal. All right, Levi Onwuzurike.
Poor Levi.
Yeah.
He was set up to have a great year this year. You got to feel bad for these guys that it just comes out of nowhere and you get a stupid injury. Especially in training camp or in OTAs or working out in the off season. Didn't we have a tight end that got hurt one time walking down the stairs and tripped on his dog or something?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Who was that? We had a tight end one time that I think it was a tight end or a backup quarterback or something. He was walking down the stair. Well, he claimed he was walking down his stairs and tripped on his dog or something.
Wasn't that Dan Orlovsky?
Maybe it was. Maybe it was Dan. Yeah.
All right. So Levi Onwuzurike. College injury background. 2016 redshirted, no injury reported. 2017 to 2019 played consistently, earning first team all Pac-12 in 2019, no injuries. 2020 opted out of the season due to the COVID-19 pandemic, no injury. He entered the NFL with a clean medical record from college, considered durable and productive. Now, if I remember, I thought that it was reported anyway that he did have something up with his back in college. This is saying he doesn't. This might take a little bit more digging here. Go to the old Draft Shark. Okay. Now, back in August 19th of 2022, he had a lower lumbar sprain, grade 1. He missed 17 games. And the details state that Onwuzurike aggravated a back injury during the first week of training camp. Dave Burkett of the Detroit Free Press reported that the back issue started in college, which is interesting because I don't see anything where it's been reported in college. So somebody reported that it happened. Well, Dave Burkett reported that it happened in college. I don't see where it happened in college. Well, let's just say that it did. Okay, let's just say that it did. Levi Onwuzurike is the only player so far that is injury prone because that back injury followed him. He ended up getting it fixed finally in 2023, comes back in 24, has a banger of a year. And then in 25, has a different injury. It was ACL, right?
Who's that?
Levi.
Yeah, Levi's ACL this year.
Yeah, torn ACL. So he had a back injury. You could say that was injury prone because it was a repeat. He had a spinal fusion. Was healthy last year. Breakout season, and then tears an ACL. So the ACL's that's not injury prone. The back injury would have been, but he was healed. He was fine. He was healthy. You know, sometimes crap happens. Again,
So something about Levi O.
yeah.
So he signed what, a 1-year deal for this year? They gave him a 1-year extension.
It was a super cheap deal.
Yes. So do not be surprised if Brad offers him another one in March.
No,
Because-
he's got an ACL.
Yes. But he should be completely healed by the time the season comes around, and he would be a cheap, no risk option, a very cheap minimum contract.
Levi won't be back.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, he won't be back. I would be extremely surprised. I love Levi. I look, I think his skill level and what he was supposed to be when we were bringing him in is exactly what Brad Holmes was trying to put together. When you go and look at the early drafts, you're bringing in Josh, you're bringing in Pascal, you're bringing in Aleem. He was setting the stage right then. I'm going to attack the trenches, both sides of the ball. We're going inside out. Supplement, plucking players, putting them at every position on both sides. The depth is already there. Brad built this team the right way. Yes, some injuries have derailed the team, but so far, come on, give me another name. Who else has Brad brought in that has been injury prone? Remember, injury prone is a repeat offender. So far, Levi is the only one that even qualifies about halfway because his back injury was healed in 24 and he had a breakout season and then tore an ACL. Okay, I saw the name Marcus Davenport. Marcus Davenport hasn't had the same injury with the Lions that he had before.
Not one.
He was manhandling Paris Johnson. So bad so last season that Paris Johnson chopped him and pulled at the same time, ripping that muscle off the bone. That was the most intentional, egregious BS that I've ever seen. That was an intentional hurt or an intentional injury. And then this year, what do? You sack a dude and you fall funny? That's just crazy. It's just crazy. I don't even know. I don't even know how that happens. But again, it wasn't the same injury. And he's back. He'll finish the season. Who else? Is there anybody else?
Nobody I can think of.
Brad did not draft Jeff Okuda. Brad did not draft Davenport. Brad did not draft Eric Ebron.
Yeah, I saw Pettigrew in there.
Brad didn't draft Pettigrew. Come on, tell me someone else that Brad drafted that is injury prone.
I'll say this: Pettigrew didn't pick up the flag either.
Yeah, right. All right. So how about we switch to players that he's brought in through free agency. Carlton Davis was injury prone.
Yes.
Carlton Davis missed 23% of his snaps prior to coming to Detroit. Guess what? He missed 23% of his snaps when he was in Detroit. But he had a busted jaw. How does that? Come on, freak stupid stuff. Right? Alex Anzalone, not injury prone, busted up his wrist. Who else went out? Malcolm Rodriguez, extremely healthy. Was it ACL or Achilles? Which one was it? It's one of them. Who else? You could go through all of the injuries from last season and even the injuries from this season. They're not injury prone guys. People use the wrong terminology. They think that they know a word, and then they don't know the definition of the word, and then they use it loosely, and it paints a picture about Brad Holmes that is totally mischaracterized. Injury prone is the repeat of the same injury.
You want to know something funny about Carlton Davis? He's playing for the Patriots now. He's played in 14 games. He's got 28 combined tackles, and they're all assists. He has no tackles on his own. He has 0 sacks, 0 interceptions. He is not playing like he did when he played for the Lions, when he was in. So Carlton Davis, though, is not being injury prone this year. He's only missed one game all year. Good on you, Carlton Davis.
He's only missed one game. I thought he was out.
No, it says he's played 14 games. He's had tackles in every game except for one.
Any interceptions? Any passes defensed? Any?
Nothing. Everything else is a flat out 0 on the season.
Sounds like a terrible season. How many snaps has he had?
I don't know. It doesn't say snaps on here. Let me see. Let's see if I can find it here. I'll look on ESPN. We'll see. So he's got 28 solo tackles this year, 9 passes defensed, 0 interceptions, and 0 forced fumbles.
Wonder what his grade is. For me, that's like, how much did they pay him? 20 some odd million?
Yeah, it was a bunch.
It was a bunch.
Yeah, they paid him like a starter. Money we couldn't do. We couldn't match it. We wanted him back, but it's nice to see that he's played in so many games.
So I will say this, man. The thing about being injury prone to me is it's not a player that has a catastrophic injury, right? A catastrophic injury is not injury prone. A catastrophic injury is a catastrophic injury. Now, if you had a catastrophic injury every season, well, that's different, right? Then you probably are more injury prone because, as the definition states, it is a repeat of the previous injury, or it's a structural injury that is somewhat repeated at different parts of the body. But it's not a player that has a catastrophic injury one time in their life and has to miss a season. Now, in the case of Ennis Rakestraw, he's had a core muscle injury in college. He has not had that injury again. And he played, somewhat of his rookie year, comes back and, in his second season, gets, like Eric said, slammed to the ground, busts up his shoulder. Dan Campbell was livid about that situation with Rakestraw. Practicing, not taking enough care and concern and consideration for your own players.
Mm-hmm. We've had that a few times now where it's friendly fire.
Yeah.
Even if you go back to the Hutch injury and the Aiden or the Aleem injury from last year, those were both friendly fire injuries. We got hurt by our own players, either landing on us or hitting legs on each other. I don't, just bad luck, man. Injuries are just the injuries that the Lions have sustained have been bad luck injuries.
So let's do a quick recap of what maybe we learned today. Number one, we just went through a list of, 5, 6, 7 players that people have fans have labeled injury prone. And I'll just give it to you like this. Injury prone is a player that has a history of recurring injuries or soft tissue injuries like hamstrings, repeated structural injuries like shoulders, knees, hamstrings, ACLs, right? Achilles. There's only so many times you can repeat an Achilles, right? Well, I guess you could do it every year if you wanted to, but it's unlikely to happen. That's what injury prone is. It is a player that has a history of recurring injuries. And so far, the names that we were given, Josh Paschal, he didn't have any injury in college. He had cancer. Fully healthy until he gets into the league. And after beating cancer, ends up having some difficulty. It's not his fault. It's football. Ennis Rakestraw had core muscle injury in college. Comes into the league. Has a little difficulty in his first year. Tears an ACL. Has torn an ACL in 2021. Core groin injury in 2023. Gets into the league. Gets slammed to the ground. Ends up busting up his shoulder. But he hasn't had a repeat of all the things that he did before. He wasn't just running down the field and gets injured. He's playing football. He gets slammed to the ground. He gets injured. That is not. You can never tell when a player is going to be injured or if a player is going to be able to take a wide amount of abuse like Jared Goff at times, and he pops up every time. You just don't. Every player's different. Who else did we talk about? And a straight straw, we did Levi Onwuzurike. Levi Onwuzurike had no issues in college. It was also reported that he had a lower lumbar injury in college by David Burkett. I have not been able to confirm that anywhere else. But whether it did or it did not happen in college, his issue right now is that he has a torn ACL. He had a breakout season in 2024 after he was healthy. I don't call that injury prone. I call that bad luck. Same thing with the other guys. Jameson Williams had a major, ligament injury in college. We draft him, works out. So we can't like say it's okay to do it for this player because this player worked out, but it's not okay to do it for that player. And as far as Brad wasting draft picks on project players, I only know of one project player that we really brought in, maybe two, probably two. And that would be Giovanni Manu and Broderick Martin. I get it. You're listening to people that don't have a clue. That's how I feel about those people. I know who they are. When you have a roster that's loaded and you don't have a lot of spots left, you got to take some chances on players. You didn't even have enough roster spots for these guys anyway. The roster was already completed. You already knew who your 25 starters were going to be. And so drafting these players so that you're thinking of, okay, I'm going to have to pay a Lee McNeil. I need to have another guy in the hopper. I only got DJ Reader for 2 years. He comes in with a core muscle injury twice. A quadriceps injury twice in his league. Both legs. Has stayed healthy the entire time in Detroit. So Brad brought in another guy that was injury prone, technically, because he had the same injury, both legs. Has played great. And we got him for a bargain. The amount of money that we paid for DJ Reader was nothing compared to what he should have been paid had he not been injured. But again, you're thinking, I only have DJ Reader for so long. I need to develop my next nose tackle. There's no other nose this year. And next year, I know I'm not wasting a first or a second round pick on a guy. So I need to bring someone in. There's nobody else in that draft that fit that mold. That's why you bring him in. Didn't work out. It just did work out, and that's okay because it's going to happen. Hendon Hooker, you needed a backup quarterback. Eric just went through it. Every single quarterback not named CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. I'm not missing anything, right, Eric?
Yep. Sucked.
Either done, right, benched, or hasn't done anything.
Yeah. Only one out of all of those 15 players, Aiden O'Connell, even is playing. Aiden O'Connell, Bryce Young, and CJ Stroud are the only three quarterbacks in that draft class playing this weekend. And I got something interesting for you. So I went to Spotrac and I looked up who's the most injured team in the NFL right now. And right now, the Detroit Lions are number 2 in players that are missing. Arizona Cardinals have 28, while we have 26. Okay. And then the total weeks missed by players, we lead the league with 243 weeks missed by our players. That counts every single player. All right. We lead the league. We have the most missed games by players on the Lions team. Okay. And then cash total, we are all the way down on 11th. So that means as of right now, it's been mostly players that aren't at the top of the market that have been out until recently, with Brian Branch, but he's on a rookie contract. I can't think of who else is out right now. for the season. Like Sam Laporta, same thing. So Arizona, they've had a lot more people that were more expensive go out, and they're at $30 million sitting on the bench right now, while the Detroit Lions are $13.6 million sitting on the bench right now. So it's kind of interesting, though, that the Lions have the most missed weeks and the second most missing players in the league right now due to being on IR and injury.
It's crazy.
It's crippling, and if you go back to last year and look at the same thing, let me look at last year as a total. Detroit. It changed. It's a different thing, but we had 25 last year. So we had 25 players, where this year we have 26. And last year we had 18.4 million on that list. And this year we have 13.6 million on that list of missing players. So we're above where we were last year. We thought we were really injury prone last year. I think we're even a little bit more injury prone as a team this year. We're missing more players this year.
I think you're misplacing the word injury prone.
No, I think the team itself, not the players, the team itself, just for some reason we're getting a lot of injuries. And we get all these people that say, "Oh, we need a whole new training staff. We need new medical people." I just look at them and I'm like, what are you smoking? It has nothing to do with our medical people and our trainers. They're not getting injured training. They're getting injured on the field. How can a trainer or a medical staff keep someone from getting injured or getting a concussion or tearing a labrum? I don't understand that, how they automatically blame the training staff or the medical people.
So I went back a little bit further. Dan Jackson, because I'm looking at all of our injuries right now. Dan Jackson. So if we want to speak or go with injury prone, like I was saying, like misplacing injury prone, like the team's not injury prone, the players aren't injury prone. They've got injuries. They've had injuries. They're not injury prone, because injury prone is repeat injuries of the same type or structural injuries of the same type repeated, right?
I'll put it a better way. We are cursed with injuries the last two seasons.
That's our curse.
So you know what I'm going to do? If my 3D printer ever gets here, I am going to 3D print a bathtub, and I'm going to do my own. I'm going to get a little thing of gin, and I'm going to pour it in this effing bathtub, and I'm going to get rid of the friggin' injury curse for next year.
It's whiskey.
Whatever it is, I'm going to get the same stuff they did, and I'm going to do it again. So,
dude, I've got some whiskey that's been sitting around for years. You can have that.
Well, we got to go find a bottle that was made the year that Bobby Lane did the curse, 1956.
I forget what his whiskey was, because they said it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go find some of that from that year, and we're gonna use that in my little bathtub. And I don't drink, and we're going to dump it out or do whatever they did.
I don't drink either, but you know what? I'll drink your bathtub for you. How's that?
You know what? And I will learn how to play his song on the guitar, and I'll sing it, and I'll do it. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes to get rid of this injury. I don't even care about the wins and losses. I just want to get rid of the injury curse so we can have our team on the field, and everything else will take care of itself.
So I went back a little further. Dan Jackson.
There we go.
2022 had a stress fracture, required surgery, but he did not have the same injury with the Lions. So not injury prone. Kai Robichaud, undisclosed injury. I'm not sure what it was. Rakestraw, we already talked about him. Kobe Sorsdahl. I'm not even sure what the hell happened with Kobe Sorsdahl.
Oh, he just never worked out. I don't think he.
Well, he was on injured reserve back in August. And so I don't really know. I haven't followed that long, trail. Ezekiel Turner, a guy that I never wanted on this roster anyway, had a foot injury, whatever, went on injury reserve back in August. Jamarco Jones, a guy that I was really hopeful about, had an ankle injury. He was out for the season. Giovanni Manu, again, the knee injury. That was back in October. Someone asked in the chat what's going on with Giovanni Manu. The last thing I heard was that he was going to be practicing this week.
Yeah, starting today, I guess.
Is that the word?
Yeah, his window's opening today.
All right. Zach Cunningham, a guy that I was excited about with his experience. I was never excited that he was going to replace Anzalone, but man, that guy was playing pretty well. He goes on injured reserve with a hamstring. I'm not sure about his full background. Sam Laporta definitely has not been a guy that has been injury prone, if you will. He's taking some shots. He's taking some low blows on the knees. I'm really worried about the back injury because now this is a player that could potentially walk the line of Levi Onwuzurike. And you look at that hit that he took to the back, Eric. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
Terrion Arnold has not been injury prone. I think that he should have never came back. You know, when he had the immediate shoulder injury the first time, he should have just hung it up right there, had a surgery, stayed out as long as he needed to stay out, and then make it back for the end of the season.
Yeah. Because he was playing pretty well when he went out. You know, him and Kirby, I think Kirby came back into that Chiefs game. He got hurt, came out, and was limping all around. Just should have stayed out, and he came back in.
Yeah.
You know, tried to push some of these guys, you know, they all want to be Frank Ragnow and, you know, push through a season without a left foot. But sometimes you just can't do it. You have to listen to your body and you have to shut it down. And I would rather have Kirby right now shut it down for the season, go get done whatever he needs to get done, go to Germany and get what's his face had done, Christian McCaffrey. Go get some of that stem cell stuff done. Whatever you got to do, heal your knee and come back healthy for next year. Don't rush back. Go get it taken care of. And this year is what it is. I would rather Kirby do that than push through pain and try to play.
I hear you and I agree with you. I think that what these players and medical team and coaches, I think what they're trying to weigh is, one, how much more damage could you do? Two, has the damage already done enough, meaning it can't get any worse? And what would the treatment be? You know, what would the likely treatment be that would it change? You know, how long would you be out? Does that change? And so I think that's what they're trying to evaluate. Okay, if you are able to come in and play the last few games and get us into the playoffs and you do injure it again or it gets worse, is it going to be any worse or any longer of a timetable for next season? I would say that answer is no, unless there's bad instability and he goes in and tears an ACL or PCL or MCL, something. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my concern, is that he tears a ligament. Because now you have instability and you have pain, but what if you go in and you tear a ligament? Are they wrapping this thing up? He can't play in a brace.
Oh yeah, he played in a brace before, and he's going to have a brace on again.
Well, yeah, but what kind? We're not talking structural brace though.
Oh yeah, great big one like the linemen wear.
I didn't see him in that.
Yeah. Yep.
He had that in the last game he was in week 6.
Kansas City, yes, he did on Kansas City, and he had it at training camp when we were there.
Golly. Yeah, whatever Christian McCaffrey had, I need to know. I'm going to Germany.
Yeah. He needs to. Well, he had to go to Germany because it wasn't approved here in the U.S.
Well, then that tells me it was probably the placenta, stem cord, or the cord or something. Which, if I would have known that back in the day, I would have saved that for my kids. I would have saved their cords, and you pay like a fee, like a storage fee, to save that stuff. We're not taking any calls. Show's about done. I apologize. We're at the end of the show.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get running.
Yeah,
here.
we got to roll.
Probably wondering where the hell I am.
He's probably pissed at me. I'm just trying to run through the last few names. Christian Mahogany. I haven't heard much. I would expect that he's probably going to get some extra work today in this week. But
I would fully think he's playing this week because he practiced all week last week, and then I think they just held him out just one more game, get through that game, and you're back for the run.
Yeah, that's it.
Because he didn't have a setback or anything. And that was kind of a game time decision that came down right to the bitter end.
The final 4 injuries: Amik Robertson. The hand injury should be fine. It might be wrapped up this week, but as long as Amik can practice this week, he should be okay. Coyote Owasika. I'm not even excited about that name. Thomas Harper should be fine. He's questionable. Kirby Joseph is questionable. And that's it for today. Another long show. We are not going 3 hours tomorrow. I'm going 2 hours, if that, tomorrow. But tomorrow we will get into the crux of the Steelers, and then more into the Steelers. Offense or defense tomorrow? Which side do you want to do?
Yeah, I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers. So whatever that entails, that's what I
want
to talk about.
So it's Lions defense versus the Pittsburgh offense tomorrow. We'll do at least 30, 45 minutes of that at some point tomorrow. Mm-hmm. We will take calls tomorrow. And bathtub it up.
Yep. As soon as I can, I'm getting me a bathtub, and we're going to do it live on the show.
All right. Well, y'all have a wonderful day. And don't forget, man, DetroitFootballJournal.com. Here, I'll post this in there. This is where all my season predictions are. I got to update it for this week. You guys have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.
Just like that, we were playoff bound. Just like that, way up in heaven, Bobby Lane turned around. Say goodbye to all that sorrow. Say goodbye to all that pain. Say goodbye to the same old lion and the curse of Bobby Lane. Everybody say goodbye to all that sorrow. Say goodbye to all that pain. Say goodbye to the same old lion and the curse of Bobby